1.
Hello and welcome to our broadcast podcast. I'm Serenity, and with me today are...
Amari.
Landon.
I'm Dayron.
I'm Derek.
Kaylin.
And Callum.
Alright, today we're talking about 2000s commercials and toys. What was the first commercial you can remember?
Okay. This might be a long shot. Do you remember Mighty Beans? That used to be a thing.
Those little guys that sit,
Yes.
fall on the ground
I'm
and
I'm
stand
so
up.
happy I was.
Oh my gosh, the little wallabies! Yeah, the little bees!
Oh,
yes.
Yo, you just unlocked a memory.
Speaking of Mighty Beams, I was thinking about the little trash monster ones. Those
Yes!
capsules, and you had to get the capsule collect them. That's the one I remember.
I know exactly what you're talking
I
about.
love those. Oh
What
god,
TV did you have?
I don't remember
I had a couple.
exactly which ones I had. I just remember walking in and seeing like all the different ones they had. They had like what were essentially like Hot Wheels tracks for these things. And I was like, who?
It's just like...
I was like, they're just why would you you need to race these things? No one's gonna mid-max their Mighty Beans.
Yo, I don't know.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember UB Funkies and what was the other one? It was like those weird critter ovens. You remember those?
Are you talking about Easy Bake Ovens?
No,
I had an Easy
those-
Bake
yeah, I
Oven.
thought
Yes,
about
those have been around.
those two.
Those have been around
No,
since
I
like
had a bunch of
forever.
those.
Those have been around since like forever. I'm talking about like the ones they marketed to boys because they made like spiders and centipedes and stuff.
Oh
Oh.
my gosh, I know what
Yes,
you're talking
exactly.
about. Those are gels.
Disgusting.
Yeah, like
They were so gross.
yeah. I've never really liked like jelly things in general, but like I
Yeah.
saw that and like
Oh,
that could be fun, but like I don't want to eat it. Like
Yeah.
It looked
Alright.
interesting.
it did look
Exactly.
exactly. It looked interesting, but I was never gonna get it. Oh, God, the amount of Barbie commercials that would show up back in the 2000s. The
I
amount.
saw a lot of Bionicles commercials.
I-
only Bionicles.
Yeah, in the very, very early 2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna say early.
Like 2003, 2005, something like that.
Yeah,
Was
just
that the robotic?
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a
Yeah,
robotic one. It's like Legos and like robotic kind of like a bind thing. and then they-
Transformers,
okay.
but knockoff.
yeah, that kind of
That-
thing.
okay.
That's literally the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't really Transformers. They were more like buildable, like Lego action figures,
I was
basically.
gonna say that Lego action figures. It's a weird combination of all different kinds of things.
They always look like really scary warriors to me.
That was mostly what they were.
Transformers, like, they're cool, but warriors, whoa.
You know, whenever I hear like 2000s commercial, the first commercial that comes to mind was one of those safety commercials where they were like, kids need car seats. And they would
Oh
always
yeah,
go,
that one.
at the very end they go, 4'9" is the magic number. Till then, your child needs to be in a car seat or whatever. Yada,
Oh yeah,
yada.
they always have like some.
I've seen those multiple times. I've
Yeah.
have a
That-
lot
these
of
ones?
sound
Yeah,
in my
those
brain.
ones.
Yeah, right. These ones.
Terrifying.
They're not terrifying.
They were scarier than Transformers.
They were.
Some of the
That's
Transformers are pretty terrifying. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't
Like
think they're-
Starscream and like
I
just
love
Megatron and.
I don't
Solar
think the
Generations.
Bionicles were terrifying, like intentionally. I think it was more like by design because the way they had to be built. Because they had to be built. Like you couldn't just make them as a toy. They had to be built. It was Lego. So that kind of does make sense.
See, right?
There was a commercial, we were talking about it, but I remember so vividly the hanging plant commercial where they grew tomatoes and stuff like that. That was just hanging. Those are stuck in my mind. Oh my god! And I just remembered the
Yeah, make
glass
sure you're changing
orbs.
cameras.
I still have one, but
I
the
just
glass
remember.
orbs that you fill up with water and you stick in your plant, and your plant just take the water.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They're like the lazier watering things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Great.
Uh,
Camera scared the shit out of me.
Hi.
I was gonna say, what was the other one I was thinking about? Of course, I think back to the early 2000s, like my main childhood. God, just all the money. Did any of you guys get into Skylanders?
Oh my god!
Talking about that, I know about like just unlocked a memory.
Oh my god.
Just unlocked a memory.
Skylanders Infinity, like come
Yeah,
on.
Disney
Dude,
Infinity.
the second they
Oh
put it
my
where you
God.
can put it on a base and put it into
Oh
the
my
TV.
god!
Everything was awesome.
Disney Infinity made me feel some type of way because I don't know, man. Like it feels like if you're already doing Skylanders, you're not gonna do a separate one. You're not gonna do a
Yeah.
separate series.
Dude, yeah.
They were completely different. Though.
I do.
They were completely
True,
different.
but
one was
like
Disney, like we had Phineas and Ferb, we had
yes.
all of them,
Yeah,
bro.
there was
I
different
mean, they added
ones.
Marvel later on, but like,
Yeah,
they're
I
completely
guess.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess yeah, but still the Skylanders. They were actually. I actually still own pretty much all the ones I have. Like right now, I have all of them.
What do you keep them in?
I keep them in a bin. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I feel like everyone
Did y'all
just keeps
I can't remember now. I can't remember the names, but they were these really hard cards with metal in them because you would have this sphere. that you would
Bakugan.
roll.
Bakugan.
Dude.
I had so many of those as a kid.
I never learned how to play Bakugan.
I never learned how to play,
And
but
the
I would
exact-
just sit there and roll them.
And the exact same way, I have no idea how to play the Pokemon card game. No idea how it
I
works.
played it once. It's actually pretty fun.
No one knows.
I have an insane amount of Pokemon cards.
I don't know how it's
Small
played.
little
No way.
deck.
Yes,
know.
bro. I played a lot of Pokemon. I learned how to play it, and it was just
So what I'm hearing is that we need to have a Pokemon tournament.
Yes, I agree.
I was gonna say I don't.
Take that, though.
You
I'll
get
lose,
commentary,
but
bro?
it'll be
Commentary?
fun.
Yeah, I'll be the referee or something. Yeah, I'll fight. Like, what
Alright, place Pokemon down and just start throwing hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, throw it.
Sit it.
Alright, now, beat each other up.
Pikachu, use my punch! Wah!
You start sitting there like, I use magic. Now I'm invisible. You can't see me. Close your eyes.
Hey, that could be fun while y'all playing.
Oh my god.
But yeah, slightly off topic. I actually don't play Pokemon. I play Magic the Gathering myself, but good game though. Early 2000s, like the Skylanders were a thing. Of course, I can't forget the game system was played on. The very first home console I ever owned was the very first iteration of the Wii.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Is it
played
yellow now?
what?
Is it yellow?
No. Mine was white.
They just start yellowing.
No, mine's not yellow yet because I kept it like pretty well preserved. It's got like the shiny outside. I played Wii Sports so much, my guy. I played that was my exercise back in the day. Wii Sports was my exercise back in the day. What about you? What do you remember?
I remember a lot about I had a I don't know if it was like limited edition or anything, but I had the original Xbox and then I had a skull version of it. That had
I
like
think-
skulls all over it. I don't know how I got it, but I just had it and I used to play was it Modern Warfare 3 or I used to play a game so much. I think it was like one of the Black Ops or like one of the Modern Warfares. I would just play religiously.
Wait, didn't we play
all-
together?
I think we did. I think
Yeah.
me and him used to play it
Yeah,
all
y'all
the
invited
time.
Where's my invitation?
well,
My bad.
is it-
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I forgot you existed for a little bit.
Sorry.
Some personally.
I wanted to say this with the Wii. I have gotten hit twice in the face with a nunchuck because my family did not know how to play the soccer game, and I was always behind them. So they instead of like doing a small little swing, they swung it back, and I got hit in the eyebrow and in the lip. Both
Nah,
times bled.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I never experienced anything like that. I never like threw it at the TV or anything. I used the Wii wrist strap at first, but then like I stopped using it gradually. Wearing the Wii wrist strap when you actually play the game is like ejecting a USB port.
Yes.
You only do it when you first learn about it, when someone tells you to, and then you never do it again.
Exactly.
But
You
we're
n-
having the gel protection on.
Yes,
that's what
the
you
gel
need.
protection is good because it actually gives you the grip on it, and actually it makes it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you, I actually saw it the other day because I was just going through some things and I found the old like Wiimote, and I took the plastic thing off it. And I'm like, this is really tiny. Like this is the Wiimote is only like this big.
Yeah.
It's really small when you actually look at it. And I'm like,
Your card
You gotta
is
be
worse
small.
on there.
yeah.
Dude, I remember I bought a Wii, and when I bought the Wii, it was like a hunter's edition, and I got like the hunting game where you got like the plastic like takeable gun, and you put the Wii remote in it, and you
Oh
play
my
like
God.
that. I played with that
Oh
thing
my
so much.
I didn't.
Oh, wait, I know what you're talking about.
It was like some limited thing. It was nothing crazy.
I never had like I only had probably the steering wheel when I was a kid, but
Oh,
I
the
always we got that little sensor bar that could like detect your person, and I would play Wipeout.
Ooh.
It'd be a moving
Wipeout.
platform, and you gotta like duck and jump and my parents probably did it as like to get her to move, but it's like the most vivid memory I have of playing a game on TV.
The Wii. I had a version of Wipeout on the Wii too, but it wasn't like motion controlled. It was a side scroller, and the main thing I remember about it is like you would go through like the same course as like different people, but everybody else who wasn't playing can point Wiimote at the screen and just throw things at your character to make them fail.
Really?
Which like I find hilarious.
It's like the version of Death Run that they had in Minecraft.
A little bit.
Oh my god.
A little bit. Well, yeah. Other than that, like the early 2000s, there was the Barbies, the Skylanders, the Bakugan. Like I just think back. I was gonna say, When I was really young, I had the what was that? It's not the Game Boy Color. Was it the SP? The Game Boy SP that was like a complete square.
Yeah, I think I know.
It was a
exactly.
complete square.
I had one. Yes.
I did not have the tribal tattoo version, but I did have the regular silver one.
Yeah, that's the regular silver one.
I have one still to this day, and I still play it because holy shit, Wario's game is so good. But his Wario Party or something. But all I
WarioWare?
remember, huh?
Was it WarioWare or was it like Wario Land? Because Wario Land games like the side scrollers, the WarioWare is like the mini game one.
I think it's the minigame one.
Then it was probably a WarioWare.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of random.
Then yeah, it was
stuff.
definitely WarioWare.
But the Game Boy is looks like SpongeBob, and it's like one of the greatest things ever.
Oh, that reminds. I remember some SpongeBob.
Oh yeah.
So, what was one of your favorite toys as a kid? For me, it was It was one of those house toy sets, but it was of Hello Kitty. It was just little Hello Kitty dolls that you could put in like 3 different rooms and like.
Was that yours or was that like a sibling's?
No, I'm the oldest out of my group, so I had like 6 years to myself, and most of my 6 years was with that
All right.
or watching TV.
Fair enough. Favorite toy?
Ooh, favorite toy. I had a Nerf gun that I would
Nerf
always
gun.
play around with,
yeah.
but I only ever had one Nerf bullet because I lost like all of them within like the first week, but I somehow just
Believable.
saved one
Believable.
every time just in case. Just in case I got bored, I was like,
I need this one.
I kept one in reserve always.
That's
Oh
my
my
golden
gosh.
bullet.
Do you ever have a favorite toy?
I had quite a few. I used to love toys. Let me think. The oldest one I remember is like the beanie thing you talked about. Yeah, I had a Spider-Man one, and I just could not stop playing with that thing. I used to put it with Legos and everything, and I just played with it all day. It didn't matter where, when.
Yeah, I had a lot of building toys. I had one of them where it was like you'd have little metal marbles with different like sticks of different lengths that you could put together.
I don't know what you're talking about. Actually.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to remember what you're talking about. I thought I knew what you were talking about. You just said like marbles, and I was like, I don't really remember any marbles games. And then I did. I only learned to play it when I was I knew what it was when I was like 9. I only learned to play it when I was like 12. Mancala. If any of you have ever played Mancala.
We played Mancala so much in my elementary school, and I remember anytime I played it, you could either like play it by yourself or play it with another person. But it felt like you were really old whenever you played that game. It felt like you were in a nursing home and you just had nothing else to do with your life.
It depends. Way back in the day, in the 2000s, my mom worked later than my school let out, so I had to go to an aftercare.
Yeah.
The aftercare I went to wasn't like, just like play with the blocks, whatever. When I was 9 to 10 years old, there was one of the employees there was his name was Mr. Avis, and he was awesome because other kids would play with blocks or like whatever toys. There was a table, and we would sit at that table and straight up just play blackjack. Like, I'm not joking.
Dude.
They had a
That's
deck of
nice.
cards. They had a deck of 52 cards. And it was like me, a couple of the older kids, and him, and he'd be the dealer. We would literally just get like whatever like things we had, like Lincoln Logs or whatever, and literally put them in as chips and actually
Wow.
play blackjack.
That's smart.
And I was like,
I had an elementary school that did that. Like this one kid just knew how to play blackjack and just taught everyone. But I always tried to play it, but never learned like the full concept of the game. So I just never really played it. I just watched most of the times.
Yeah,
when I did.
yeah, I know how to play blackjack. I have never really like been amazed. I never really still understand completely poker. I've never really understood poker.
Yeah, poker's always.
Oh god, I remember playing poker.
I still don't understand why that's like a televised event. Like, why is poker a televised event? I don't get it.
Some people are into it.
I guess, but like, I mean, if golf gets the pass, I guess maybe.
Fair
But
enough.
I mean,
No,
yes,
I
people
won't
do
do
watch
that.
a lot of golf. I
really hate
never
golf.
understood that, but to one's their own.
oh yeah, right. We have topics to talk about.
Yeah, favorite toy?
Favorite toy?
We gotta loop around and back on
Oh
Yeah,
god,
so
favorite
yeah,
toy. I'm guessing Skylanders don't count, but as in terms of favorite toy, I would have to say in general Legos because I had some of the original Lego
that.
sets.
Legos is a good
I had
choice.
some of like the ones like the premium ones in like the 2000s, like the Atlantis set, some of the old Lego City
I had a
ones.
SpongeBob set where Mr. Krabs' hut.
Yeah, those ones. But yeah, just Legos in general for me. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would say Legos too. I don't know about y'all, but I watched a lot of Ninjago. So
Oh, I was just gonna bring it up. Thank you, you brought it up.
getting
I'm
all the
so
I
glad.
had to get Jay, I had to get Kai. I was trying
Getting
to get
all the
everyone.
golden weapons.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I watched Ninjago when it came out, and then I completely fell off. I just,
Really?
I fell in love with it.
Yeah, like-
Sarmadon.
I watched
Every-
it when I was too young, so I've forgotten most of it. But I still remember sitting there watching it.
It's good, especially when the Green Ninja aged up.
I
Oh,
just,
yes.
I just remember like watching it for a bit, and then it like stuck. I learned all the characters for, like the first season, and I just stopped watching it. Every once in a while, I'd stop back at like the Target or something and be like, some set. I'm like, how does this fit into the story? And then one time I was watching Cartoon Network and somewhere there was a commercial, and it was like, what's the white ninja? Zane? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Dude,
He was like,
Zane's my favorite.
it's like
Yeah.
Zane's a robot. I'm like, wait, what? Like, when did this come into effect?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
That was one of the
season one,
biggest. That was
though.
one of the biggest reveals
Wait,
ever.
that was season 1 though. Like, come
Was
on.
that season
was
one?
early. That was
That
early
was-
Like I said, that I must
know
have
season
watched like
one.
almost
That was
nothing.
season
It was season one. It
Was
like,
that season one?
Was that the climax for season one?
I think so.
It
It was. I think it was
like
one.
the-
Yeah, it was like the end.
Like, I was
Was it
glued
him
to that show.
revealed as a robot and then him trying to find his dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
What?
Mm.
I hated the scene where he opened his stomach and a bunch of butterflies came out. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
not
that's
good.
That was weird. But
I
him
don't
finding
know
out that he was a
that.
robot was kind of nuts.
I thought that was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then he learned his power, like to use ice and stuff. It was just,
It just all fit together way too well.
it worked.
You're a ninja robot and you can do ice. Cool.
The show just ended too.
Next. It did.
Okay, for me, it, when, you know, it's a little complicated because it mixes computer games with it,
Mhm.
and since I've been on the computer a lot as a kid, sometimes a little too much, but I remember watching commercials when I was way younger about a spin-off where Pandora is grown older
Mm.
Oh.
and has completely new design, and there's a doll of her. I still have it to this day. Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
and she came with a little cord, and you could plug her into your computer and then use her to play an online game.
I remember
That's
some.
cool.
I remember
That's
something
insane.
like that. Now that you mention it, that unlocks something a little bit. I remember something like
We
that.
had. I remember Webkins had that
Oh,
ability
yeah.
to scan
Webkins-
it, but I've never heard of being able to plug it into
There
the
was
computer.
so many. I think it was it after Skylanders was a thing, or was that before? Because I'm trying to remember. Like, now that I think about it, there were a lot. Like, anybody who remembers UB Funkies, like those were a thing. They were basically like Skylanders but worse.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, like UB
Mid-tier.
Funkies were a thing. Webkins, like a bunch of other like doll plug-in things.
Mhm.
Those were. I don't know. What was it? What's the genre called? Toys to Life? Is that what it's called?
Probably.
I think that's what it
I
calls.
think that's what it was.
I think that's what it's
something
called.
close to that.
Something close to that.
Favorite toy?
You gotta get ready for this. I
Oh.
have
Oh,
so
no.
many.
Oh,
she's
taking-
Oh
I
God, she's
have-
got the notebook.
I fucking love. Excuse me. I love space boots. My grandma had them that
The
broke
space
your ankles.
boots.
You mean moon shoes?
No.
Huh?
Yeah, moon shoes.
Okay,
whatever.
yeah,
Moon
same
shoes. But
thing.
the
Yeah, no.
buckets
Oh my-
with elastics in them.
How did
You
you?
gotta bounce it.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you have ankles? Like
No.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Imagine having ankles, bro.
Something I almost died on as a kid.
I died on a kid, guys. Unfortunately, it happens.
In summer or aftercare, they had these buckets with strings tied onto them that you could hold, and you put them on your feet to get taller, and you'd walk around with the buckets because that was the entertainment of the 2000s. And if you stepped wrong, there's rolling your ankle when you step wrong, and then there's stepping off of a bucket and rolling your ankle. That is a new, because then you're pulling on these shoes to keep them on your feet, and then you're falling, and then you're pulling, falling, twisting. It would hurt.
You
Yeah.
reminded me when I saw someone wipe down. It was just like they're happy and then whoosh. Oh,
yeah, I
Wiped out of there.
I don't know if it was some sort of curse, but like every childhood like play like recess area got shut down because people didn't know how to behave. Like back at my elementary school, we had like this recess area, and every time like something would happen, it was like, first of all, I don't know what it was built on. It was like this weird green styrofoam stuff. It wasn't fake grass. It was like,
like
something.
The weird padding
It's like this
stuff?
weird padding. It was like the whole thing.
Yeah,
like the
like the
whole
weird rubber
ground was.
padding.
So if you fell, you were like losing like.
We had
You were getting rubbed down to like the white meat. Like
We
you're gonna
had-
lose some skin.
we had rocks and then mulch as kids.
I was gonna say mulch was the worst
I had-
thing ever. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea
I
for
had-
kids to land on.
I had rocks as a child, you know, because we had rocks, and then I figured out that my elementary school's going to mulch, so they started putting mulch and stuff, and I was like, it's mulch. And then I found out that there were places that started doing pieces of rubber tires, and I was like, where was this when I was a kid?
I was gonna say I
Where
feel
was
like rubber
this?
tires probably
You know,
better
when
than
I was
mulch,
dirtying
which
my
is like,
hands with dirty rocks or getting splinters, they were like, now we're putting nice, soft rubber, and I was like, that's evil.
Well,
That's
yeah.
wrong.
evil.
But yeah, the the recess at my old school, there were two accidents. One caused like a small panic, and the other one got it shut down because they stopped letting anyone except like the kindergarten, because it was like the school I was at was like in Florida, was like kindergarten to 8th grade. It was like the whole thing. So they only let like the preschoolers and the kindergarten use it from then on out. The first one was a kid was using the monkey bars, and the thing about those is you couldn't start them from the ground. You had to climb up into this plaything and then use them from there.
That's what ours had to do.
He was using them, tried to grab one, missed, tried to stop his fall, and snapped his arm.
Oh,
The second one was a girl named Stephanie who was like climbing on top of it.
Oh, not Stephanie.
I don't
Not
know.
Stephanie's.
Not
I don't
Stephanie.
know. I didn't see it, but I heard it secondhand because I knew it had happened because we were like going to like the cafeteria or whatever
Yeah.
for something. All of a sudden, like one of the doors in the back explodes outwards, and she's on like a stretcher with like firemen like rushing her out the door.
Oh my
I
gosh.
learned later it's because she had toppled over, done a somersault, and landed directly on her spine and cracked it. And then they shut it down after that.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever had an accident that bad, but if we misused something, they took it away.
Yeah,
I was
So
always.
we had the main things I remember us always having. The first things they took away, we had these horse swings that you could sit on a horse and swing. I don't know if they got old. They
The
took them
tire?
away. We had giant swings, like feet up in the air of chains. Swing on those. Someone probably fell off being 10 feet in the air. They took away our swings. We had two different types of things where it was one of those big steering things that they put on cockeyed, you know.
Yeah.
Kids got blisters, so they took them away.
You get blister. Are you using it that much?
Yes, we would have kids lined up just waiting to get on that thing, and that's all they did for recess.
what?
That's all I came in with blisters all over my hands. But there was this one thing we had, which was a zip line.
You got a zip line?
How did
Yes,
you have
it
a
was a
zip
full
line?
metal zip line. You held on to it, you went in, you went back, that's it.
Let me guess, people
Here's-
didn't use the little plastic part,
No.
did they?
No, everything was metal, but here was the worst part of it, is that the way they built the playground, they had to have an entrance, right? Because it's
Yeah.
all plastic connectors, and they put the entrance where the end of the zip line goes.
Of course.
So anytime a kid was on that, if any kid thought, I'm going to be smart and use the entrance today, if any kid went on and their feet flung up, you'd kick somebody. Like, that was bound to
Of
happen.
course.
We see all that's left today was just the blue poles from the exit
Yeah.
of the thing.
That no one uses.
It got taken away one day, and my brain literally went, someone got kicked in the face. And someone probably did. I don't know if it ever happened because I never got to hear, but I swear some kid got on that, went, dude, go stand on the other side, and kicked him straight in the face.
Speaking of poor playground design, my aftercare that I was talking about, not the actual school, the aftercare I was at, they had a couple pieces that just said not to. They didn't remove it because they couldn't, but they didn't let anybody on it.
Yeah.
One was like just literally was like this high off the ground, and it was a balance beam. And somebody fell off it once, and they just said stop. They didn't remove it. They just said stop using it.
All right.
And then the only one that was poorly designed, they had sets of swings, normal like two chain things like that.
Yeah.
The problem was the placement
Oh, no.
because it was at the edge of the playground, and this thing allowed you to get really high. The first thing, like 3 feet behind it, was a stone wall that comes up to like yay big. So it was really easy to just fling yourself over
Oh,
off
no.
into like someone else's parking lot.
Oh,
And
no.
two, And the other direction that it can go in it was faced towards a classroom that had giant glass windows directly by the swing.
No.
Meaning that if you fell off at the wrong time, you can straight up launch yourself through a classroom window.
Speaking of that, I think, Derek, you probably remember this. At our elementary school, we had, like, giant swing sets.
Oh, yeah.
And there was always people challenging themselves to see how high they can get up to it and jump up and land it on their feet. We did
We
that
had kids that
all
did
the
that.
time.
One of those kids, too.
I can't remember if it was you or you that
No, definitely me.
I remember there was mulch, and there was mulch everywhere, so if you flung in, like...
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
you get it
Yeah.
wrong.
You're
Your hands
Yeah.
all hurt up.
But we're talking, you're getting. Gee, I remember this one dude. I hated him so much. He was doing one of those flying up, and there was like a tree right next to the swings, and he's about halfway up this tree. Like he was at least above a story. Like he is going above the school height, and you're like, he's gonna die. So he swings up, jumps off, lands. And he's like, dude, I hurt my foot. So his friends are like carrying him in. And I kid you not 2 seconds after this, he lets go and just starts walking off. And I was just like,
Liar.
wow, man. I see how it is. He's doing it for attention. I was so.
Yeah.
Anything he did would bother me. But I remember him doing that where you'd swing up as high as you could.
Dude, I had in pre-K, we had this, like, big climbing gym. It wasn't supposed to be climbed on, but they were, like,
It's called a climbing gym.
you hold on to these weird things, and you have to scoot your way to the other side.
Yes,
And-
I know what you're talking.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
dude,
those things.
We're little children. We're so small, and this shit is so high. So you have to climb up, grab them, and then move.
Yeah.
And when the kids found out they can climb,
Oh, no.
they climbed to the very top
Oh, yeah.
and just sat
Yeah,
up
yeah,
there.
That's pretty much
climb
a
on top of it.
That's
But
pretty much a
it's so
requirement as
high
a
up.
child.
It has climbing in the name.
It does.
Yeah, I'm
climbing.
getting on
Like,
top
what,
of
what do you think
I'm doing what it's asking.
But I
As high as you
remember,
can get.
I remember I watched someone like slip off the edge, and they did a cartwheel, and they slammed
Oh.
their side into,
Oh,
into the ground.
wow.
But it was sand, so it was like, it's okay, but not.
Yeah.
Like, that's painful.
I never liked sand playgrounds because like you will never not get anything in your shoe. You get-
Exactly.
oh, the
Especially like rocks and whatnot. You always got
yeah,
something
you
in
always
your
got the
shoe.
rocks. You always got that. It's always hot. The sand is always scorching.
Yes.
Did you guys ever have the mushroom
I
the
think I know what you're.
spinning thing?
I
like,
think
Yeah,
yes,
like
yes,
that.
I know. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I
I
don't
know what
have
you're talking
mushroom.
about.
That was awesome.
Those were
That
really
I knew what they were.
intense.
But
Those
Wait,
were-
do you mean like the thing you hung on?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
spun like crazy.
Now let me tell you, that was some fun times.
dude, did y'all ever get to see the go around things or the roundabouts?
Oh,
or whatever?
Oh, like the
Yeah.
like
Because
the,
they
like
were
the
The
full
merry-go-rounds?
Yeah, they always got.
Oh.
Of course, they got rid of them before like
I was gonna
I
say,
was old enough to ever see them.
like the
because of how
big
dangerous
plate
they
ones, like the big
Yeah.
plate ones.
Like they have one. They have one over. God, where is it? They have one over past where I live, and it's like the only one you can find. The only time I saw another one was like in a really scary neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was the only. It was like the first time I saw a merry-go-round. It's like, dude, it's a thing from the movies. I was like, Dad, we gotta ride it. And then I found out they had a newer playground that they made next to some baseball fields where they made it, and I was like, they are giving us the most dangerous thing in the world because one kid goes flying off of that into mulch, they're gonna die.
There was a
But-
small version of that. Do you remember?
Really? A
Like the
small
kids' version. It was a plastic little toy. I even wrote
Yes,
it
the
here.
little you
Yeah.
sat on the plastic
You
toy
just
and you spun.
Spun yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Best.
Oh god, I'm talking about like the playground activities. Have any of you had to participate in dodgeball?
Yes.
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 I'll
Oh,
never
it's the
forget.
funnest time.
I'll never forget the
Oh,
most
God, need- go, give me one,
humiliating
give me one.
moment. Yeah, there should be chairs in the other podcast room. I'll never
You
forget
want to
the
borrow my
most.
chair?
No, I'm good.
Okay, okay.
You know what? While they're transitioning, we're gonna try to transition back to what we were.
Oh, yeah, what were we originally talking
What's
about?
what's the next topic anyway?
My next question I had for us was, what was a product you saw in a commercial that you always wanted, but your parents would never let you buy?
It would have to be those beads that we saw. What you had the floam.
The flum. Your
Those
kids.
were
Oh,
so good.
God.
I had that. I always had. I had kinetic sand growing up.
I was just about to say, like, Play-Doh, my parents
Did
would
you-
never let me buy Play-Doh.
How many of y'all licked Play-Doh and found out it was salty?
No, I don't really did
I
that.
did. And I
Yeah.
love salt.
No,
So good.
I have never. I normally don't like get things on TV unless it's like Legos and stuff.
Yeah.
There isn't really like, oh yeah, I want them. I was like, my parents were like, no. There is one thing that I got that was taken away from me, not because of anything I did, but because it got recalled. Have you guys ever heard of Aquadots?
Yes, those things. I heard about those things getting recalled,
Yeah,
and I had them as a kid.
Do you know why they got recalled?
Because
I
There
never
was
heard of
something
them.
about the chemical in it.
Yes.
Wasn't it, when they
Yes,
got wet?
because
They're having trouble.
sorry about that.
Something's
They're
going
struggling,
on.
guys.
Open the door and come in.
Sorry, tell us
Oh, they
about
want the spinny chairs.
So
Because they're being difficult.
As
They
usual.
want to be fancy.
Oh, my knees hurt. I deserve this.
Couldn't have gotten a stool.
you.
There's probably another stool in there though.
All
Or
right.
another
Y'all have to
chair.
get the biggest chairs to take up the most room.
Yeah,
Oh,
y'all
okay,
couldn't get.
so-
Well,
You can
you're
lower
sitting there
them.
now, Derek.
Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah, it's for you.
No, what? Oh, thank you. Do you want to
Now
get
are you
one?
gonna complain?
I'm not gonna lie,
You'll
guys.
find a stool or something.
I have class in 15 minutes.
All right.
I got class in-
Bye, Derek.
Yeah, I gotta
Bye,
be. I gotta be in
Derek.
class at 2, so I got like 20
Thank you
minutes
guys for
left.
letting me be on here.
Hey,
All right,
It was so
nice to meet you.
see
Nice to meet.
Nice to meet you.
let's go.
Of course, say right. Aquadots. I had them, and do you know the reason why they got recalled?
It was
Yes.
something about the chemical or something in them.
The specific reason they got recalled is because you're supposed to like put them on the thing, spray them, and they solidify into this art
They
piece.
stick
Yeah.
together, yeah.
Now you mentioned like the chemical thing. The reason why they got banned is because they were poisonous. Was because obviously kids eat things.
Yes.
The problem was whatever the hell those dots were made out of, the chemical reaction that occurred when it when it bound with the kind of with water had a striking resemblance to LSD. That's the reason why it got recalled.
Yes. I remember it had to be
When
something.
the dots
Could not remember.
when the dots themselves got exposed to water, the chemical reaction that let them stick to each other made the chemical compound resembled LSD. So kids would eat them and go on a trip because they were literally just ingesting LSD.
I'm so glad I never. Now I'm kind of now. You know when you get like 50-50, when you're like something gets recalled as a kid, and you're like, oh, I'm glad I never did that. But at the same time, I wanted to be one of those kids to be like, yeah, that happened to me.
That was trippy.
Yeah.
But no,
Tripping.
I had those as a kid, and I think they're probably still in the basement. So if I can find them, we can test the
Let me
theory.
know. Let me know if you find them.
I mean,
Test it.
I don't
don't
know.
want to do anything.
I don't know about that because like LSD is already dangerous enough. I don't really know what expired LSD looks
I was
like.
say
God.
expired.
Hey, we're gonna find out though.
Also, if
Hey.
the chunks,
We're just getting it.
if
Oh.
you eat too
What are
many,
you
they
doing?
all connect
We're just
in your
bringing more
stomach, and
people
that's
in
probably
now.
not a
I
good
think
thing to
we-
poop out.
Do you want us to start finishing, or you want to keep going?
Y'all keep going.
All right. All right. You want to start off with
Still
the
going.
next question?
Sure.
Our next question is: do you have any cartoons you remember watching as a kid?
Oh god,
Ooh.
so many.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the. I'm gonna let someone else take this one. Go ahead.
Wait, what was it?
Cartoons from when you were a
Okay,
kid.
I have a specific cartoon, and
What?
the only reason I want to talk about it is because I thought I lost my mind when I
What?
did it.
What?
Was I would watch Teen Titans as a kid.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I always loved trying to memorize certain intros like Ben 10, or I could never get Danny Phantom quite right.
I was like, never.
But I would always watch Teen Titans. It was my favorite show growing up. It's still my favorite. I love it to death. Whenever it came on, I tried to learn it. And I found out later on that they would change the intro, mattering on if it was a happy episode, a funny episode, or a serious episode.
Oh, that's.
remembered that.
I don't remember that.
So one
I didn't
day,
even notice. It was like it's.
one day Teen Titans comes on, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, Teen Titans, what is it? Is it in a different? I thought my entire TV changed languages, or I was having a mental breakdown, because the entire intro was in Japanese. Because it's a Japanese production show.
Ah, I see.
And I was losing my mind as a kid watching Teen Titans, going, why is it in Japanese? Is the entire episode in Japanese? Was there an episode I missed? And then the rest of it was in English, and I just never questioned it.
Yeah.
Because every time I ever watched an episode after that was always in English. So it was like that one chance I watched an actual episode that had the Japanese intro, and then I never watched it again. So I thought I went insane.
Thought I was crazy for a little bit.
Had a moment.
You want to introduce our new person coming in?
Hi there. I'm Josh. First time really in the media club.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's actually my first semester here at Chat State.
Now you can never
Wow.
leave again.
First on the podcast broadcast.
Hey, side note, you got a really like profound voice. Like,
Yeah.
you got like
Oh.
a narrative type voice.
Thank you. Some people tell me that.
Like it's
couple.
rapidly approaching Allstate guy.
You're getting really close to.
What's
being
one of the
commercials.
lines he says?
Allstate. Something.
All
Allstate,
states.
you're in
You're in
good
good
hands.
hands.
You're in good hands.
You're in good.
You're in
Oh,
good
that's what it
hands.
There we go.
Yeah.
Boom.
But yeah, that I never noticed that because I was never the hugest original Teen Titans fan.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people give Teen Titans Go crap. I never disliked it because like the show was bad. I disliked it because it was on all the time.
It was
Yes,
on
that's what bothered me.
all the time.
It was on all the
Only thing
time.
showing.
But if I had to, I remember so many shows watching back in the 2000s. Like you had the bigger ones like Adventure Time, regular show.
Of course.
Some of the older ones like Samurai Jack was still on. Codename Kids Next Door, The Amazing,
Yes.
Dude, there's so.
The Misadventures of Flapjack, Chowder.
Loved that one.
Flapjack went a bit crazy.
Flapjack
sometimes.
was weird.
Oh yeah, fuck
But it
that.
was good.
Even like some of the ones that were more obscure, but just I liked, like Generator X. I like Generator X.
Junior, okay, listen, I didn't watch it when it was on TV. I watched it when Netflix had it for a little bit.
Yeah, I remember.
And then
that.
they had that mashup of Ben 10 and Generator X.
That's what got me
Yeah.
onto Generator X. I was watching Ben 10 and it just popped up. I'm like, what
It
is
just
that?
showed
I was
up.
like, who's that?
It was so good.
Dude, when Upgrade and him combined, I was like, what is that?
I was sitting there losing my mind.
I was like, what?
I think that was the first mashup I saw as a kid.
I think it was. I think it was one of the originals.
Yeah,
but-
Bush Fairy, Odd Parents, and Jimmy. That was
Oh
it.
yeah,
That was a
right,
good
right,
one.
That
right.
was a good one. Yeah, I don't know about the rest though.
Have you guys ever heard about the Secret Wish?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I heard about that
Oh,
one.
the
Yeah,
candle
yeah.
one where she blows out the candles.
No, it's a different one. They said the reason the show went on for so long is because Timmy wished that everyone would stop aging.
Yes,
Oh wait, no,
I
it wasn't.
remember
It's,
the Secret Wish.
it's not a secret wish anymore. It's like they did an episode. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
They're
It's
like,
a wish.
he made this wish that everyone would stop aging around him so he could keep his fairies forever.
And no one
and
remembered
then
it.
they said, how long was this happening? It was for 50 years. He kept that wish.
Oh my
And
God.
made Cosmo forget it. And I was like, what?
And he went to fairy court, and they figured it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the most betrayal thing you can
Yeah,
do.
I was like, wow.
That is painful.
Just sitting there as a child, being like, "It's all coming together."
Not
That's
even
like
a
a master
child, yeah.
Yeah, he's he's like 10 in the show or something like
Yeah,
that.
he's like
he's almost
So
60,
technically he's
70.
like 60 now.
They turned him 60 for a bit, and he got so upset that he
Yeah, in the
de-aged or
movie.
something
Well,
weird.
I was gonna say they made the live action movies. That was weird. Oh my
Oh.
god.
No, not the
Hold on.
live action.
Oh my
Weren't there
god.
two of them?
I
There
just,
was.
I just said live action. I just reminded myself how many original Disney Channel movies did they make? How
What
many
about
did
the
they
original
make?
Disney Channel
Too
shows,
many.
though? Because there were a bunch of.
I can
Live-action
remember
shows.
literally only I can only remember two original Disney Channel shows. Those were Jesse and Austin and Ally. That was it.
I loved Austin Alley.
Austin Allen was good.
But there's even older ones usually. I don't know if anyone else watched it, but it was like Ned's Declassified.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I loved that.
Of course.
That was a
And
great
then
one.
I found out that the dude who played in the new Elvis movie was a character off of
He
that
was.
show.
He was. I
I
was
remember
also.
I remember seeing him being like, "Why does his face look so familiar?"
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and I was like,
Yeah.
"Because
Makes
I knew him
sense.
as a child."
Yeah.
Child.
That plus the I'm just remembering like all the obscure shows now.
I've
Back
got
to
one.
I was gonna say back to Cartoon Network. How many of you know Camp Lazlo?
Yes.
Yes.
I watched a
Yes.
little bit of it.
I
I
don't
never
really
watched.
like it that much.
Yeah,
Kinda
same.
boring.
Dude.
I felt like it was okay. I
It
felt
was
like
pretty good.
I felt like it was okay. I thought it was pretty.
It was pretty good.
It was on the same level as Chowder.
Yes.
Yeah,
I would say
no,
put
I
it
think
on the
Chowder's a lot better.
It's
Okay,
so
better,
much
but
better.
same weirdness level.
Same weirdness level. I actually gotta go. I got a class at 2. It's 154.
Aw.
I gotta go
It's
soon.
alright.
But last thing before I go, there's a little bit of a parting piece. Speaking of like childhood, I was not alive for this. I was not alive for this at all.
All right.
After looking back, this is Nickelodeon. How was Ren and Stimpy a kid show?
I
Oh,
just.
I
How
hate
was
talking
Ren
about
and
this, though. I hate
so
it.
That
Oh,
show.
much. I hate
How
it.
was
I
Ren
didn't
and
even
Stimpy
want
a
to
kid
bring
show?
up that show.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I never watched it. I remember I heard about it and looked up like one clip of it, and I was like, I'm traumatized. This is. It was like worse than the time when kids found like little tree friends.
Happy
or
Tree
Don't
Friends.
Hug Me,
Oh
I'm
my
scared.
God.
I mean, that
Yeah,
one was
it's
different because
so
those were like YouTube shows. I'm talking about like, but think about it. Ren and Stimpy was in like the same era as like Cow and Chicken, and, like Beavers, and like stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Casual
It
stuff.
was just thrown in there. Like I would I would say that Ren and Stimpy is more random and more off-putting than like shows like Rick and Morty sometimes.
No, because I remember people always talk about.
Yeah.
They'd always talk about Courage the Cowardly Dog and being like, it was so scary, and I was like, that was scary.
It was
No.
a really
Never
good
look
show,
up Ren
though.
and Stimpy. Just you can't.
God,
Ren and Stimpy would have just traumatized me as a child
God,
if
just-
it could.
Actually, now that I think about it, there was like one cartoon character that I remember knowing about for the longest time, but never remember seeing any kind of show. Garfield. I had never
Yes,
seen.
there was never.
I knew he
remember.
existed. Everyone knows Garfield exists,
Yeah,
but
'cause
like
there
he
was a
doesn't have a
movie.
show.
Whoa, he did have a show.
He did have a
I'm
show.
with that.
He had a
I'm with
show.
that. That's
He had
a
show and movies. It's
Two
just no
movies,
one.
yeah.
Bro, he had the one 3D cartoon show, the one 3D cartoon movie, and the 2 live action movies.
There was
And a game.
There was
Garfield
a
Kart.
2D
There was a
cartoon.
game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And that was,
Can't
awesome.
forget about
It was
It was awesome.
It was a good one.
You know, if you really want to start getting obscure TV shows, you go to Nick Jr. type shows.
Yeah, that's where you get that. That's
Did
where the
any of y'all-
obscure
Did
one.
any of y'all watch the Good Night Show with like this
I
lady
did.
sitting on a moon with a
I
star?
did.
I saw it when it
Almost-
came on.
almost
remember
every
the big
night.
Couch.
Well,
I
did
remember
you
the
know
Comfy
Come
Couch.
on every night?
Alright.
Did you
It's
know
too obscure for me.
that
I don't
there was
remember
that
if it
bird
did.
that sat in a nest
Yeah.
and it would say happy birthdays to people?
Alright, I've been there on.
I
It's
don't know
nice to see
how
you
my
guys.
family did it.
Bye.
Bye. I don't know how my family did it, but one night I was sitting there watching the Good Night Show. They're having birthday dates run across the screen, and there goes my name, and I'm like, wow. That was like the
What is
biggest
happening?
honor as a child to get your name on TV, and
That
I was
was-
like, this is
That was when you
insane.
peaked.
And then your
That's
name's
like, oh my
Serenity
God.
too, so it's
Exactly.
not like it's one of those
Yeah,
rare
like, no
names.
one was named
Yeah.
Serenity in my years.
Yeah.
It's like if I had I remember in middle school or high school, I found out someone's other name was Serenity, and I was like, this is insane. I remember when I was younger, I was going through the movie channels, and they made a movie called Serenity, and I was like, that's weird.
Imagine.
That's
I'm
about
never
me.
gonna watch that.
But it's cool though. Do you have a nickname?
I don't have a nickname. My family gave me a nickname when I was a kid, and it was like one of those, it was a baby nickname, so I never really used it. But if I ever had to go by a nickname, I just took that nickname, chopped it in half, and got it actually put on a bracelet, which is Ren. So anytime I ever named myself a character in anything, I would always put Ren.
Like that's hard. That's hard though. That's hard.
Do you guys remember Charlie and Lola?
Yes,
Me too.
I remember Charlie and Lola.
That's
not as good as Max and Ruby though.
No,
Max
I
Ruby
don't.
was hard. That's the
Max
only
Max
reason
and
there.
Ruby.
That's
Dude.
Stuck in my mind.
Mhm.
Did you guys probably watched Barney as a kid, but
Yeah.
did you ever have the kids who made up Killing Barney songs?
I had that in middle school.
I was one of them. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like make it up, but if I heard a song going on, I'm gonna join up like, hey,
Spread it
Barney,
around.
Hayes, you, hey, y'all heard that new song? That was hard. I'm be one of them. I'm sorry.
I remember it was people didn't like Barney. People would always trash on Dora, and then they had some song about gummy bears.
Oh.
But
This is like
I know what
cartoon,
Landon, I know you remember.
but it's
bro.
also
I used to make us
Justin
listen to
Bieber
it
hate.
all the time. Like they'd be like, all right, we're gonna have a fun day at class
I'm
today.
a
Everybody
gummy-
go in this room. It's like I'm a gummy bear, and then they did that every week, like 2 times, and it was too
I
much.
remember.
Torture.
I still remember when they pull in the box TVs.
Oh, you
Because
always
I
give
didn't
us-
realize, I never realized the progression or that, how far we come until I realized kids these days will not know the feeling of when we were in class and you heard a knock at the door and saw that box TV on that stand, knowing it's a movie day.
Yeah.
And
Best
then-
days.
And then they'd always watch Bill Nye, obviously.
Dude, Bill Nye was
Bill Nye's
classic.
old now.
Bill Nye's
He's-
amazing.
He's
Old
R,
man.
He's rated R now.
He is rated R now.
He's rated R now.
He is rated R
He don't
now.
play now. So, but yeah.
When they pulled out those TVs, I always got what was it? Lady School Bus, Magic School Bus.
The Magic School
I got-
Bus.
That's
Um,
also one.
Yeah.
Dude, that show was so good as a kid, but I don't know. I'm trying to think about it because there was a couple that were like, "What is going on?" Like the one.
Oh,
where
didn't
she
they go
inter-
inside one of
They
the other
went
students when they were
Yeah.
sick?
There was some crazy stuff happening. There was
When
some
he
crazy
ate
stuff.
that, when he ate that muffin thing,
No, it was
I
like-
wanted it so badly.
I think someone ate like a Cheeto and they were on the Cheeto.
Yes.
or something like
Dude,
that.
the weirdest one I remember watching that kind of weirded me out as a child is when we watched photosynthesis it was precipitation because they just stayed water or in air the entire time, and I was like, what if one of them, like, I was so worried. I was like, there was such a quick way to lose a child.
Oh,
Or all evaporation
do we
air.
do we not want to talk about the space episode when one of them took their helmets off?
Oh my god, Arnold! That was Arnold!
It was Arnold. That's what I couldn't remember who did it, but someone was like, "I'm done with this," and took his helmet off. I'm like, "Whoa!"
Arnold was my boy, though. I love his like play. I knew I should have stayed at home. Why did I get out of bed this
Man
morning?
was
That
done
my
with it,
favorite
bro. He
character.
just took his helmet off in space, bro, and survived. I don't know.
That's a move, but also why?
There's one episode that always freaked me out, and it's like they also went inside. Not gonna say it that way. They went inside of
Phrasing.
yeah, a kid got a cut, and then they went inside the cut to kind of see like the white blood cells and everything.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
what that's what my
that
white blood cells.
always messed with me.
Mhm.
It just magic school was on a different time, bro.
There was one where they just went to one of her weird friends' houses, and they made a person out of like robot parts and elastics.
okay.
And it always made me think, why is it so hard to create a human robot? Because in my mind, I'm like, anything that was muscle could be elastic and could have a wire through it that could give, like, the nerves could be like wires sending directions and whatnot. And then as I got older, it always stuck with me, and I was like, I don't get why. But then they came out with that woman. That robotic woman.
The one that is
Oh.
like, I am bolted to the floor for safety reasons. That one?
I was like,
There
I
was
don't.
that
good
woman.
impression.
That was
Thank you.
pretty good.
And I remember seeing that, and I was like, we're gonna have robots.
This could be robots in the future. I don't
I
know.
am so down for robots. Ever since Detroit Became Human came out, I was
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yup,
yes.
there
You
you
don't
go.
know how
Yes.
terrifying that game was?
It's terrifying, but it's better than like
It's-
our day-to-day life. I want spice.
I don't know. If,
Yeah,
I don't know if you want
spice.
spice. That's like you wanted like the zombie apocalypse. I'm not. No.
Hey, let's start The Walking Dead.
Run it back.
I was reading I love reading, like, the futuristic, like, the idea of robots. Because when you were a kid, that was everything as a child, was robots. Especially giant robots, like Power Rangers.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
Everyone wanted a Megazord, bro.
But I remember I was reading a comic, and it's about robots, and it always intrigues me how they're like, this is made of this, and this is made of this, and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And it was the idea of a company making a love bot. So it's like a bot for company.
Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me.
And I
Oh,
remember
believe
reading
it.
about it, and like the whole point is that they made it so lifelike that you take one chip out, they're perfect AI, and they had their own emotions and everything.
Oh, that reminds me. Isn't there like a horror movie coming out that's named like Megan? I think
Oh,
it is.
yeah, yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
about this concept.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
not
she was
robotic.
playing, you know what I'm saying? She was like, ooh, ooh,
It's such
ooh.
a good concept. though.
The trailer makes it seem so not scary though.
Mhm.
Like just when she
Yeah.
starts running on all fours to you,
Mhm.
it's not scary.
It's just. It's more. I don't know if it's scary or if it's more just
There's-
weird or
Yeah,
creepy.
weird.
There's this horror film that always makes me laugh. This is no longer what our topic is about.
We're going.
I'm sorry, I brought the horror.
There's this horror trailer I keep seeing about this woman, and she runs away, and she's in this house, and all this creepy stuff keeps happening, and these dudes are being weird or whatever, and it's like they're attacking her, and it cuts, and the title card comes up, and you just hear the narrator go, "Men," and I was like, oh god, it's terrifying.
Wait,
Men!
is it Men?
It's
The movie
Men.
Men, yeah.
It's literally
And
men.
it does it every. I can't not laugh. It's a horror. It's a horror movie.
It's a horror movie that's just
named Men.
men.
And it just
Oh my
comes up like,
God.
Men, see it in theaters. And I was like,
The trailer when it goes Men coming soon. You
you
can't make that serious.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just what-
sus.
I-
I'll just
what
stare
I'm
at the
waiting-
screen. I'll be like,
I mean, you
Oh.
say so.
wait, it's like
They're
right after,
saying.
it's supposed to be like right after a jump scare or something. So she's like, ah, men. And I was like, oh,
God, men.
not men.
other people looking at the screen, it's like, dang, it's a good day to be a feminist.
True.
Dude, has anyone ever seen the Fly Man movie where a guy turns into a fly?
No.
It
What?
is
Sounds
disgusting.
Did you ever watch Pinocchio as a child, where they turned
Not
the
the
kids
live
into
action.
donkeys?
I
Oh,
did
what?
all the
Yeah.
time.
If you never watched the original Pinocchio,
Yeah, original Pinocchio is
freaks
scary.
you
They
out.
they literally
It's
turn a bunch of kids into
scary.
like donkeys and they try to sell them or something
Yeah,
like that.
they do.
Yeah, they literally try to sell
They
them.
don't
And then
get a
that
happy
fits
ending
into
by the end
Shrek's
of the movie.
timeline.
What
Because
happens?
Donkey talks.
They-
And I was
nothing.
one of the
They
kids,
just-
and I hated
Does he
that.
get sold?
Oh God, why would you say
Talk about it.
that?
It makes sense. Pinocchio
It
goes to
does.
the
I
island.
hate it.
Pinocchio finds out that if you drink the beer, you turn into a donkey. And then Pinocchio goes, I don't want to. I want to be with my father, and runs off.
Literally leaves.
And it's never brought back up. It was probably still happening even after he turned into a boy or whatever. And it always
That's what it says.
That's your guys' problem.
there's kids are still being turned
The
into
donkeys and they're being sold.
and some of them can still talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a theory saying that some of them can still talk, so one of them grew up to be
Be
Donkey
Donkey.
from Shrek.
Oh.
That-
Oh wait, no, that's not good.
Oh wait.
And that's why he has no social skills. Oh god.
And then Donkey gets turned into a horse in one of the Shrek's movies. You know, whole different story.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, that's
Shrek.
Dude, the complete and utter different conspiracy theories that
Dude.
came out of being a child.
Yeah.
It was impulse.
The intrusive thoughts one.
Shrek was when we came, like we grew up on
Dude, when
Shrek.
Shrek
Oh.
All
first
of
came
the
out,
sequels
absolutely.
were really good.
They hit
They're
different.
not
Yeah.
all like
You know,
the
we
fifth
can
one was
always
a little-
keep
Yeah, the
talking
fifth one
about
was kind of.
Fifth one was
They
a-
kind of.
Did anyone watch the
coming
fifth?
out with another
We
one?
really
Okay.
did an
That might
hour-long
be-
podcast.
Oh
And,
shoot, that was
Yeah.
longer than my last one.
Is the fifth one where Shrek goes to the separate timeline and fights with like the army of ogres?
With
Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
man, I forgot his name.
There is
Or
one.
not
but no,
Rumpelstiltskin.
it's
Rumpelstiltskin.
We're not on Gravity
Rumpelstiltskin.
Falls yet.
It was
That's
Rumpelstiltskin.
another topic. Another topic.
So it's like
New
Shrek-
topic, yeah.
He's
Or
the
no.
storybook guy.
Yeah. Sorry.
What's the storybook guy? I'm gonna.
Storybook guy.
He's
I-
the short guy that like either
Farquaad?
steals.
Yeah, it's Rumpelstiltskin.
No.
Anyone
It's
who-
Rumpelstiltskin.
If you figure out what his name is, he gives you something.
They put a play on that
Did
here
they?
at the college a few
Really?
weeks
Oh
ago.
yeah, they did. I saw a
I
thing on
watched
it.
it.
I didn't get to
I
watch
went
it.
to go see it
unfortunately.
because my friends were in it.
Wait,
But they
the
did
Shrek play?
no Rumpelstiltskin.
It was a Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So not as good.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, if it's not the Shrek play, is it actually a play? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Did you ever watch that Broadway? They was like on Netflix, but it was like a Broadway version of Shrek.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I have.
played in it.
Yeah.
Donkey
You
in
played
that was
Not in
so
the,
good.
Not in the like big one, but
Yeah.
our school did one. And I
Oh.
was Mother Shrek, and I was.
Oh my
so
god.
happy.
Mother
Our school did Aladdin,
Ooh.
but obviously there's kiss scenes in Aladdin, so they just had the genie intervene every time, and it was
Ah.
so
Oh, that
awkward.
sounds.
Oh,
I was
God.
like
sounds- just
sitting
every
on the carpet.
time.
It was a whole moment, and then genie, and I was like, oh, God.
Why?
That guy.
I don't know if you guys have ever looked it up, but if you go online and look for community theater Shrek plays,
think-
you will find the most terrifying
There
images.
is
Yes.
these
in your
are.
life.
Yes.
Like it is so bad.
Do you want to show the camera?
Yeah.
It's just
Oh
right here.
yeah, yeah.
Right here. Right
Let's
here.
see, there we go.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
way better than what we had in
Like
middle
that?
school.
That yeah.
Yes, terrifying.
Yeah.
Like
Give him
gave
a
us
hug.
face.
Dude, I was saying, bro. He looks huggable. I'm not gonna count.
Hey, that's just my husband. What do you mean?
Really huggable to me. I don't know.
Did y'all ever get to meet any of your like 2000 show idols?
Absolutely, yeah.
I never got to.
Drake Bell came to our school once. Remember?
I remember
Really?
that.
Yeah, but he's in
What?
jail now. So.
Drake Bell to come to your school?
Yeah, before we got a new principal, we didn't get to go see him.
Yeah, we
It
never
was
got to
only
see it.
for
It was
the high
on,
school.
it was high school. We were in the middle school
Yeah,
section, so
we were
at that
like
time.
So
right
you
up
only
there.
heard about it.
Yeah.
No, I got to go out there. 'Cause I had to pick up my sister, and I was just trying to
I
find
got,
an excuse.
Excuses here.
Yeah.
I know they usually have those car shows down in downtown Chattanooga where they put all the cars in the building. And I got to see the dude who played Freddie Benson off of iCarly.
Really?
Meet him.
Oh,
Wow.
that's actually
I mean,
dope.
he's still playing Freddy right now.
I say yeah.
Yeah,
there's
like
a new.
Is it
It's a
still
different
going on?
Freddie from what I know.
It's
I
a
don't
new
know.
iCarly. It's new iCarly where there's no Sam, there's no Gibby, and like Fred and Carly are like a thing, and it's like it's a more grown up kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the show, they're trying to be a
I
thing. It's
was-
weird.
I
I
was-
haven't actually
I
watched it
haven't
myself.
watched too much of it.
Obviously, whenever it's like two girls and a guy or two guys and a girl, there's always that
Love
platonic.
triangle.
Every time in the 2000s.
So I'm gonna have.
I personally always wanted Freddie to be with Sam.
Well, that did happen in the
they-
first iCarly.
Yeah, but
Well,
they
I
didn't
don't know if they
stay.
ended up together.
Yeah, they didn't
it
stay.
tried and then they
Harley.
They
changed.
tried with everybody, okay?
I was just saying,
Freddie was
Freddie
right
Freddie
there.
went around the place.
They was
Freddie went
making
around the
fun
block.
of Freddie. Like, they was making fun of Freddie the whole time, but then they both ended up dating him.
For like a
And
little
I'm
bit
just
of-
waiting for Gibby's turn. Like,
Yo,
come on,
what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
when's
Gibby
Gibby
was
getting
Gibby
something?
was
Gibby,
Jack.
doesn't Gibby have a girlfriend
Yeah.
in the show? I'm pretty sure he had like a
It's
girlfriend.
not
It's
the
like
same, though.
it's like I think it was the whole joke in the series was like Gibby had a girlfriend that like lived in another country and they all didn't believe her or believe him, and then she got brought one episode and she was like supposed to be like smoking hot, and they're like,
Yes.
what?
Yeah, so I remember that accent that she had.
Yeah, she had some
She was
accent.
like a
She had an
full-on
accent, too?
supermodel.
Mhm.
Yeah, because she was like from some other country.
Good for Gibby.
Didn't
Good-
it
good-
was
good
really
for
good,
you.
or it was one of the moms like throw off at the mouth for Sam, not Sam. Who is it? I don't remember any of the names. Who is it? iCarly. It's the brother. It's the
The
big
brother. What's his
Spencer.
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 Thank you.
That's
What
what
was-
I was saying.
Oh my
Wasn't
god,
there a
what
mom
was
like
her name?
dropping at the
Oh.
mouth just to get with him?
Oh, she was hot.
What?
No, wait, no, 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 no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no.
wait,
Oh,
wait,
are you
wait,
talking-
wait,
are you talking about the
wait,
one with the
wait,
mole?
The
I think there was
It
one.
was
there was
it was the
Can't
mole dude's
remember.
mom, wasn't it?
mole dude's.
The door ringer, door.
doorman.
I think there was like
Doorman.
There was two mothers.
I think-
one was always mad at them, and then the other one was
I'm
like.
pretty sure
Freddy's-
Spencer got with like 4 different women in
It
that
could've
show.
been-
One of them was
He
really hot.
He was a play.
One
Yeah,
of them
one was
really
hot.
hot.
I
I was
remember
like,
one being hot.
Wait, what about? Wasn't it the art gallery lady?
Yes!
Who-
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes.
Art gallery lady.
Don't know her name.
I don't remember her name either.
Dude.
It's been too long since I've
You
watched
didn't
it. Not
need
gonna
her
lie.
name.
You didn't need her
You
name.
didn't need it.
I'll never forget the one scene from iCarly where Freddie Benson's mom is like at the counter doing something and she's talking to Spencer, who's having to work as the doorbell because they did something to the dude, and she puts her hand on the counter after he like just spilled a smoothie and she goes, "Why is the counter wet? Wet and sticky is very icky. Icky and wet makes mommy upset." Like she does that.
Oh, yeah, she has the rhymes.
Oh my god.
And I just
Okay.
remember that gluing into my mind of that's hilarious.
No.
Did you say it like unironically? Like if you ever just like accidentally did that? Would you
Listen,
say
if I ever like stuck to something and no one's around, I would probably mentally go wet and sticky.
it? Sticky.
Wet and sticky.
Just gotta do it.
I might have to start.
Yo, I'm gonna top that, bro.
One of those moments.
Yeah, like come on, I'm mommy.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that I would always reference because I really liked the TV shows.
I always gotta have some references.
Dude,
Like I reference a lot of SpongeBob. That's my like favorite.
good reference.
It's such a good thing just to reference. It's just
yes, Megamind.
oh
Oh,
Yes.
really
Yes.
good.
All right,
Love Megamind.
everyone, what is your best line you can remember from Megamind?
My steel
Oh.
toed boots.
Oh,
no,
oh.
it's wrong.
I
Stop.
know. I forgot it.
Yeah, I'm shaking
The,
in my custom leather and seal
Just
tail
boot
boots.
boots.
There we go.
I'm going to be wrong with this, but I think it's Santa Claus doesn't exist, the
Oh,
Tooth
yes,
Fairy doesn't
yes,
exist,
yes.
and neither does the Queen of England.
Yeah, yeah.
It was. Oh, now I'm trying to remember the exact line.
Oh.
It was like,
I'll try to
there is
find
no
it.
Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, yeah.
There is no.
There is
Easter
no,
Bunny.
There is no
There
Easter
is
Bunny,
no
and there is no
Queen
Queen
of
of
England.
England.
And there's also the oh, you're a villain, all right, but you're not a super one.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
Representation!
Oh yeah. Sorry, sorry.
Oh, we just peaked all the mics. We just peaked all the mics. My bad.
Chris is gonna be listening to this and be like, "Oh
Ah.
god."
I hear presentation.
Yeah,
I also
Yeah.
I like the really just random obscure one where he's like copper. And my weakness.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
It's just like nothing big, but
Wait,
it's
So
like
I
super-
that works?
decided.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
I have an image of Metro Man doing his thigh flex pasted into my head constantly. Him just doing a boom. And then he was it's like,
It
what?
wasn't even him. It was Megamind.
It was
Megamind disguised
As, as him. Yeah, I was like, how did he do that? I want to know.
And it's like the little things on his legs
Yeah,
are
they
fluttering.
fly up. I'm like, whoa.
I still remember when
Stuck
they
in my
like go
head.
to their secret go to Megamind's or Metro Man's secret base and whatever her name was, I'm just gonna call her
Roxanne.
Lois. Yeah,
Roxanne.
leans down and goes, "This water has ice cubes in it." And he's just like, "Yes, that's what happens when water gets cold. Don't you think it's a little odd?" Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the thing. And then you just have Metro Man going, "And Music Man was born, so I can keep my logo."
It's
Gotta-
such a
gotta
good
keep the
film.
merch.
It's such a good film. I love it.
It is.
It didn't get the respect it deserved when it came out, but now it's getting the respect I'm happy with.
There was that one, and then there was
Monster Girl.
the two.
That one.
There were two movies that always got shadowed because of things that came out before them, and one of them was Treasure Planet,
Mm.
There
I
was
have
been a
that
fan.
one.
Yeah.
and then I can't remember the other one.
Wait,
it got
do you
shadowed.
remember like themes of it? or,
No,
like,
I just remember
parts
there were
of it?
always two movies, and I just like Treasure Planet more.
Was it Atlantis?
Anastasia.
Oh.
Didn't watch it.
Didn't watch it either.
It was pretty good.
It's really
Dude,
good.
How to Train Your Dragon though.
Oh.
I've been thinking
That's
about wearing
like
my onesie to
classic.
school
That's
because I just want to say
classic.
get
You
out.
need to.
I'll wear
It's
it.
cold enough now.
It is.
I remember I have family that lives in Kentucky, this is for context. And my dad and me would always drive up there. It's a 4-hour drive. Since it's a 4-hour drive, my dad, when I was younger and still had to be in a car seat, would give me this little iPad, because we had iPads as kids. And it had literally almost nothing. So this is what my dad would tell me. He'd go, if you watch How to Train Your Dragon 2 times and then watch your bunny movie, we will be there. Because the movie was like an hour and 30 minutes long or whatever. And then the short film was 30 minutes. But I would watch it like religiously. Every time we went, I just turned it on. That's what I would watch. Until I could, sit up in the front seat or talk to my dad or something about it.
Speaking of that, I had this little like movie player
Yeah.
for when I went on car trips.
Dude, like
And-
with the disc in it?
Yeah, when you actually put the
Yeah.
disc in it,
Yes, I
and
had
I
one of those.
loved that thing. And there was always 2 things I would watch during road trips, which is I think it's the first 4 seasons of the 2012 Teen Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hey,
Those
so good.
heat.
Dude.
And then it was I was in a big Dragon Ball fan, so I watched a lot of
Obviously.
there was obviously like I was an attack or something,
Stole
but
my line.
hey. But I watched the Battle of Gods movie over and over again. I loved watching this
Dude,
too.
did you ever? I had all of them, but did you all ever have the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the
Yes.
the Secret of the Ooze type
Yes,
of
the
thing?
movie.
I
Like,
love
what-
that name of that.
What is
Secret of the Ooze.
Lose.
I remember the visual effects being very weird in that movie, and April, of course, as always.
April, dude. No, I remember when I would watch Spider-Man a lot as a kid, and they,
Which
all of them. Or
Okay.
no, there was a certain Spider-Man TV show that I would watch, but I always mix it up. But whenever the live-action ones came out, somebody made like a side-by-side comparison of every time they just kept de-aging the aunt.
Oh,
And they were just like, the aunt in, like, Tobey Maguire is, like, 80 or something.
Yeah, she's
Mhm.
old.
And the new one, she's, like, maybe in her 30s.
maybe like fresh out of 30s, fresh out of 20s, 30s.
You know, old? Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
No,
I was
no.
like, Laddie, like,
Try to attract the
I
young
was like,
viewers.
whoa, what
happened
happened?
here?
On purpose, too. They did it on purpose.
It's
So,
like it hurts even more when Uncle Ben dies, because I'm like, no, man, he's got his whole life ahead of him. At least at the start, you were like, yeah, it's a man of
I mean, he's
wisdom.
old,
And
yeah,
now
he's
you're
old
like,
man of wisdom.
And didn't Uncle Ben die like a couple years prior to the movies? So he was like
For-
20 or
wait,
something?
What if he still was old, though?
For, I think
Uh,
for the
That's what I
Tom
was saying.
Holland
Like,
one.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't too sad when he passed away. He had that money.
Maybe, yeah.
Had that money.
Do you guys know how I think it was Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, in one of the scenes where they're swinging from a web, I think it's the Spider-Man in that scene isn't Tobey Maguire. It's just a fake statue
Yeah.
that they attached
What?
there. It's either the Spider-Man or the girl. One of the two. They aren't
Oh,
real.
yeah, I remember hearing about this.
And there's a clip of it because the hair is just going the complete
Yeah.
opposite way
I remember
of
seeing
where they're
that.
swinging.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember us talking about
There's so many like little cool movie details you can just figure out and just learn. It's just it's so cool.
Shall-
But then you can never watch a movie the same way.
Yeah,
No.
that's
yeah,
the main
I
problem with it.
started watching Kill Count, which is like
Oh,
it does video essays on horror films,
so
and
good.
it's great because it also adds in the touch of other films. But after I wanted to go into directing and started watching more breakdowns, I got way into it, too into it. So now when like I remember I was watching a movie called I can't remember, but it was really good movie. So in the movie, these 3 people move into a house and they find an attic, and in the attic there's this mirror, and if you tilt it at a certain angle, you can go into different dimensions when you go through the mirror.
Don't know what.
It was a
I'm
great
not sure.
thing. It showed how different people would react to the ability to go to a different dimension and whatnot. But by the ending, one of them has to go insane, obviously.
I think that's pretty much required.
And I remember they were like, we got to do this, we got to do that. Because if you go in by yourself, you can't go into this. It's always a different reality whenever you go in the mirror. And she's like, he's going to come back out. We need to put the mirror straight up because it turns off the powers. And she does like a cool slide. The other dude's like ready to aim or whatever. And she gets it right as he's halfway out this mirror.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
He's got the shocked look on his face, and he starts to slide, and you see the blood show up, and then he falls forward, showing half a person cut in half. And everyone, when watching that movie, you know, you would go, oh, that's disgusting. I went, those effects, man.
Yeah, dude, I was taking notes of
That's
those effects.
crazy,
I
man.
can't-
That's some
I
crazy
can't
effects.
watch gore. Like, I love gore movies because of the effects.
Yeah,
like,
effects are
I hate
awesome.
paranoid movies. I hate the suspense. Like, I can't watch those. But I could watch gore so much just because of the effects and the thought that goes into it. Like, I was watching one about the glob, or the slime, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
With Robin Williams, yeah.
I don't know. It was. I only saw little cut bits, and it was like the slime was like pulling over this dude's head and supposed to be like eating him or whatever. And it was like on some kind of React channel where these 3 dudes talk about CGI effects, and they were going over this one clip, and they were like, "Well, first he's in a whole bodysuit. There's a certain way they made the slime like with fishnet fins in it so that they could pull the slime over him so it doesn't break. He's got like a wrap around him so his body is safe." And then it cuts to another scene of her pulling on his arm, you know, trying to get him out. And they're like, that's a dollhouse with doll humans. And I'm like, what? It's like a whole doll scene. And she's supposed to be like leaning back and pulling on him. And then it cuts to another scene of her ripping his arm off. Obviously, because he's supposed to die, his head gets pulled back. It's terrifying. But I remember watching that and just being like, I kind of want to make a horror film. Just because I want access to all that gore. I want to just be like, can we make this happen? Like, because I would watch all the Saw movies off of Kill Count, and I'm just like, I want to see how far I can make them
Do
go.
stuff like that. Yeah. Like, I was thinking about, like, Society. Have you ever watched that?
I've watched clips of it.
Dude, they get so crazy with, like, the body horror kind of thing, where they, like, they make them look human, but, like, they're all, like, disfigured and stuff like that. And there's a climactic ending to it where, like all the, because they're all like aliens, and they all like merge their body into one. They start like absorbing someone, and it looks so freaky and weird. It's just like, ugh.
I don't know why, but you said that, and I thought of that movie called Aliens in an Attic.
Oh,
I remember that.
When
That's
they
never
made
watched it.
Aliens
Wait,
really big.
I like that movie.
Dude, I have for the longest of time wanted to create either a game or a movie or short video or something, like horror-wise, and I was like, what are the best things that like scare people or put people on edge? My things are like hallways, people crawling at me,
Dolls.
corners, hate
Ceramic
it.
dolls.
Yeah, ceramic dolls can be fucking terrifying. But I thought about it, and I watched this video. It was a little short clip, or it might have been from a game. I don't know. But it was a little girl in a kitchen, and it's all animated. And it's like raining outside. She's walking by her door, and out of nowhere, a hand just comes through the window, grabs her, and instead of just tearing her out the window, she hits the fridge and then goes out the window. And that little hit makes it way worse, because you're like, ooh.
I feel like,
So I'm like, I want to put that in where like a hand comes out and grabs someone, but smashes their face up against the wall and then pulls them back.
That
where
makes
it's like,
me,
ow.
That makes me think of that scene that everyone laughed at in one of those Freddy movies, where like Freddy like comes through the door and like pulls a blow up doll through the door.
Oh yeah, that's the ending of the.
It's one of the endings.
I think it's the ending of the. Is it the ending of the first? It's the ending of the first
That's
one.
the first movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a bunch of
'Cause it's
different
her
endings of like
mom.
the car turning into Freddy, her being pulled in, or them just driving off. But every time I watch that, I can't help but laugh.
Yeah, because you see the
her
rat
legs
and
are so straight as she gets pulled in.
and you see the doll, her legs start flailing, but it's the balloon's leg, so it's just they both flail the same direction. It's just I remember it
Isn't
so
it a
vividly.
small window too?
Yeah, it's like this big, and they pull it through. I'm like, what?
We can see Freddy like struggling.
Oh god. This blow up doll's weird.
But I also wanted to say this kind of off topic, but it's still in movies.
It's all on.
I would say we haven't.
Oh,
Wasn't it like children's movies or like?
We started with 2000s. Now we're
That's
just in
where
nostalgia.
Can we please talk about how amazing Pirates of the Caribbean is?
Yes.
Like almost the entire series.
Yes.
The last few ones a little bad, but the first 3 at least.
the first, I
Up to
could watch
World's
the
End.
first movie over and over for 100 times over.
I can watch a third one because that World's End is like the greatest one in the world.
When I watched it when I was really young, obviously I didn't understand it, so I thought Jack Sparrow was the main character, and I didn't like Turner or the girl because to me they were side characters and he was the main character. But obviously I had it switched as a kid, so I only liked ever watching the first movie because they didn't have Jack Sparrow be the main character in the other movies. And I remember every time I watched it, I'd be like, I gotta sit with these two now.
Yeah, to be fair, they do kind of make Jack Sparrow the main character.
Because they realize how much everyone likes him.
Yeah.
I think the first movie they tried their hardest to like do the keep an eye on 3 characters.
They did
type
it
thing.
so well, though.
They
too.
did,
Yeah, they all seem like main characters or
Yeah.
equal portions
and
of
they
it.
feel awesome. Especially like seeing them grow throughout the movies as well is like impressive. They don't change really weirdly. They change for the better.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
And it's just a progression. Like
Yeah.
Turner and the girl, I don't know her name.
Swan.
You see how they just change. Like Turner is this rapscallion, sure, but he goes to like a pirate captain.
Yeah.
The girl obviously becomes this
The
massive.
king of the pack. I think.
Yeah,
she's the
king of the pack.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sounds like a wolf thing.
No, not the wolf thing. We're not drawn into that.
Were you guys ever into that though? Were you ever like in the cat clan or the wolf clan?
I knew a lot of people.
Oh
that
no!
No.
Don't get me
Oh,
started.
Don't want to go there.
The Warriors books.
Don't want to go there.
I never became like that kid, but in 5th grade, my teacher like was having a conversation with me about how I wouldn't read any other books than one volume because she had it and that's the only thing I was gonna read. So the only thing I read throughout all of 5th grade was all the Captain Underpants books that I never would have ever read if I wasn't in there. And then they made a movie. And what's weird is that I remember begging my family, being like, I want to go see that movie because I know what it's about. And when we got there, I had forgotten my glasses and we were sitting all the way in the back. I watched a blurry version of Captain Underpants the whole way through. And I still enjoyed it, but I never saw it in crisp HD. And I never saw the movie again. And I remember just being so upset, like, I never got to see it. I want to say I watched it a few weeks, like clips of it because my family was watching it and I was going in and out. And I didn't register that I watched that forever ago. But it's like I didn't watch it in HD, but then I saw clips of it in HD. So now the entire movie in my brain is all just now in perfect vision. Because my brain can just like run it through a filter of like, no, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Do we want to go to the next
Do-
question
yeah.
finally?
Yeah,
We've been on this
so.
question
Well,
for
you-
about
Wow.
a solid 45 minutes, guys.
There was no question on that. That was the last question. There is no more question.
Oh, that was the last
that was
question?
it.
Oh, we were just
Yeah.
going for it.
We got any final thoughts, but I think that
I think that was our
all of
thoughts.
it.
Yeah, that was a good
That
one.
was every thought we had in our head at that point.
Does anyone have any 2000s nostalgia that they remember so vividly that they want to quickly mention? I would want to say Silly Bands.
That's a good one.
Silly bands.
I had a full case of those. You ever try putting them all on
Yes.
at once?
Yes.
I
And
think
you're
that
just like,
everyone has tried at least once.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
many bands as possible.
cut off all the blood to
all
your
circulation. You don't need
Dude,
it.
did y'all ever make spinners?
Spinners?
Yeah, I made spinners that we got banned from making them. But
Great
you would
song.
take two
Childhood.
different types of paper and then you'd fold them together and it would make little fidget spinners and spin those
I
and you
would-
could color them.
I had something similar, but not really. I used to make my own Beyblades.
Oh.
It
You
was
would
probably
buy-
around the same thing.
Yeah, where I would just buy a bunch of different packs of Beyblades and just start combining them to make like Beyblades that I wanted. And I was like, I'm just gonna make names for all these.
That and the fortune teller thing.
Oh,
yeah, the
yeah.
fortune teller was a
I
classic.
need to make one of
Guys-
those. Have people do that.
Do you guys remember Pump It Up? That bounce house
Yes.
that used to
Oh.
be
Yes,
here?
yeah.
That was so much fun, but so scary to go into.
It was.
It was
Terrifying.
There was
especially
one
the dark
specific
areas.
float everyone would be on. It was the rhino horn one. And there were 6 like big white horns out of the ground, like twice as tall as a
Yes.
kid.
Yes.
Every single one of them, every time I went, there would be a kid who pushed it down and was inside of it
Yeah.
in the float.
Yes.
And I honestly did that too. It was so much fun.
I gotta admit to it as well.
Worth it.
I had a birthday party there actually. Once. It was pretty cool. I had like a cookie cake and everything.
And you have that back room.
In the back room.
The back
Dude,
room.
in the back room. And I'll never forget, I was having so much fun going through the dark area. There was that weird kids section next to the dark area that felt off. I don't know why, but that building felt off. Like being in there felt off.
It wasn't real.
Exactly.
It didn't feel real.
If there was a such thing as the back rooms, that building
That
was
was
the
it.
back
Yeah.
rooms.
That was it.
And I
That
remember
was the
after
back
we ate
room.
cookie cake, we went out to play again, and it was the worst mistake of my life.
Oh yeah,
You
you,
just- you
get tons
don't.
of cookie
No.
cake, then doing
Yeah,
something.
no.
Yeah, working there must suck.
Oh.
Oh no! I remember the Pump It Up place, the place with all the airflow, like got taken down.
Yeah.
It's still
got
there.
impatient.
The building is still there.
Yeah,
and I keep
but it's
passing by
there's
it.
not there's something new in it.
It's like
that
a
I haven't checked out.
cheerleading
Yeah.
training
Yeah,
area.
something like that.
That's it.
But it's like you go past it, you're like the trauma. No.
Mhm.
Every time I pass it, I just get flashbacks of no one will ever know.
Do you remember the like one part of it where it's like there's all these bounce houses, very colorful, very bright, and then you entered into like the darkest room ever.
That's what I'm
and
saying. The
it's
glow
neon
in
lights.
the glow in the dark room.
I remember
I
running
liked
into
it.
too many kids.
I liked
would
it.
run in there, be like, "Oh, I'm peaceful," and then some kid came running and slammed.
There was
into
never
me.
anyone
It
in there
was
for me,
insane.
thankfully.
Oh, you're lucky. It was trauma. Oh my god, that reminded me. Do you guys remember the McDonald's like climbing through the tubes?
Yeah, the
Oh
Playboy.
my
Yes.
That's also
Yes.
I was
terrifying.
so sad when I figured out I was too big for the playground. And everyone finds out they're too big, I think, in the same way. You go to get in the playground, you're like, I'm gonna have so much fun. You're climbing through and you're like, I'm a bit big, but I can still get through this. I will never forget the day I physically got hit with the I'm too big for this. I went to climb in one of the entry tubes and I went to sit up and the back of my spine smacked the top of that thing. And I
That's
went,
the
I
realization.
literally backed down and I was like, I can't do this ever again. And that's so
I'm
sad.
not allowed.
We need to make
too
like
big?
an entire building. for
Yeah, I'm
adults
too big for
of
it.
that
Yes.
stuff. I
Yes.
hate them, would never go in it, but I want to watch people.
Wow.
do
Oh,
that.
yeah, even Buster.
You can't talk that much, Amari.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No,
You
they
can't
don't
ride those
have one,
rides
but
at
they
the roller
need
coaster
one.
places.
I was,
Yeah.
I was still in the
Maybe
that
have the
happened.
big rule
that
of like
hurt.
don't bring
and
your
you're
beer.
over here like,
food in there. That'd be
Yeah,
gross.
Yeah.
Way too big for this.
Sorry,
No.
I'm not usually taller than people. So
Oh, dude, that-
He has to take it down.
you
I
don't
can't.
understand. That happened to me yesterday, and like
Yesterday.
I understand people being like, everyone talks about size of people all the time, and it doesn't usually bother me. Except I was bullied in quotation marks as a child. Not really. I had a fuse, and people thought it was funny when I was mad. But one of the things I was always joked with is the words "little girl" because it was funny. And as a child, I wanted to be a bodyguard when I grew up because I wanted to tackle people.
I respect it. I
I don't
respect
know
it.
where
Yeah.
that feeling came from, but at a certain age, I was like, that's not going to happen. Anyway, I get older, and yesterday I was walking with a friend of a friend to my car. And I was like, man, it's pretty cold, because it's pretty cold. And they were like, oh, I think it feels fine. And they were like, well, you're really small. And I was like, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Ow.
Thanks.
Why?
And obviously she was taller than me and bigger than me. And, making jokes, being like, I just have more meat on my bones. And I was like, that's great, but, like, you don't realize the amount of times I was in RO and I got picked up and I about hurt some people.
Throw hands.
Because you
Try
don't
to
do-
throw in hands.
Everyone's always like, you never make fun of people bigger than you. And everyone's like, you never make fun of people bigger than you. And everyone's like, you don't make fun of people that are smaller than you. And they're like, pick them up. And I was like, you don't pick me up.
I got
Don't do
the
it.
opposite of that in pre-K because I was just abnormally taller than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment I realized that I was different from everyone else. We had these, like, this setup for PE, and we had the boots that we were talking about earlier. and then we had the next station, which was like sleigh. Like you just get on a sleigh, someone drags you across the floor.
Mhm.
And I remember I tried doing both of those, and the first one I was way too tall for. I could not fully get on the boots. And the second one, I pulled my friend around, and then like I got in it, and 2 people tried to pull me, and they're like, "We can't. You're just too tall." And I'm like,
That reminds me.
so
That
I did
must
that with
hurt.
everyone else.
We
It stuck with
We
me.
didn't have sleighs, but we had those little rolling things with like handles on
The
them.
square
Oh.
ones.
We
Those
had
were
those
the
at my
ones.
elementary school too.
Yes.
Those were the
We
Oh,
had
yeah.
we had those, and then we had the hula hoops
Mhm.
competition, or like hula hoop for hope or something,
Oh,
whatever.
we had the jump rope one.
And we had both.
I
did
wanted
both.
the stilts. so
Dude,
badly.
I won. We had field day at end of the year every year. And one of those years, I won the limbo contest, and I have not lived that ego down. Like, if you pull out a limbo stick, I may not be able to do it anymore, but I will have, my ego will peak to the top of the roof, because I was like, I won one once. I was so low to the ground, man.
That reminds me, I used to have like a family tradition when every Friday, me and my mother and my sister would always go roller skating. And when I was younger, they had a limbo contest while roller
Really?
skating, and I
Oh.
won once as a child, and it made me the
Yes.
happiest child in that entire
Obviously.
day. I was
Obviously.
so happy.
Never live up to
Did
that
you-
again.
I won't. I
Did you
can't
ever
do
Did you ever go to the skate place? It's like stuck in time.
The Hamilton one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this.
Yeah, I
That's
love
the-
that
that's the
literally
one we
place.
called
used to
the
go-
skate place.
Yeah, Hamilton Skate Place.
That is like the skate place. But can we just it just doesn't age. It
No.
can't
No.
age.
It stays.
It's got disco balls, it's got the fog machines, it's got the good music.
And
the
the
music,
arcade.
The music may age, but you walk in there and
It's
you
literally a
can't.
blast to the
Time
past.
Yeah, 1980s.
Yeah.
Way
You
back.
are frozen in time.
I feel like
It's-
all skating rinks are like that because I've been to a few and they
Maybe.
all look the exact same. And it's like,
Exactly.
what is
It's just,
going
it's just,
on?
All that
it's just a whole
wooden
vibe.
floor.
It just stays the
It
same.
is a
It's like I
vibe.
love it, but also why?
Well, they're just never going to
Chris, they come
remodel
look in,
those
like, "You're still
places.
going?"
I hope they don't because they're
It's
kind
better
of
that way.
Yeah, it's their.
We look at our
Honestly.
phones, we're like, it's
Yeah.
5 o'clock, the place closed.
Speaking of which, I need an excuse to not go to work.
Go to work.
Oh.
Tell them you're stuck in a podcast.
I'm talking to people and they won't let me leave.
People keep talking to me and I just can't leave. It's just I can't be rude.
It's
like, yeah,
I
we
need an
can't
excuse,
finish.
bro. Brad
I
be
mean-
tripping, bro.
I mean, you have been stuck for an hour and 20 minutes.
No, I don't have work until 5, but like, I'm really not trying to go in today.
Just don't, bro.
Yeah,
Um,
just don't
say
show
it.
up.
Feeling good. Just be like,
So your
hey,
car did a
I
triple
have
backflip, bro.
massive
You'd be fine.
migraine.
That's not funny enough, though.
You
Yeah, you gotta think of something funny. Well, if it's funny,
Everyone-
they'll
everyone
believe
would
it.
believe
Because
that.
there's no way he'll say
I've just
that.
not felt
I
right.
guess
Yeah,
you
I'm
could
just
say
saying.
Dude, there was a
one of
pickle in
my
a vending
friends
machine, so it
bought
dared me
me
10
on
bucks.
No,
It didn't
not
go
the
up.
pickle.
And
That's
now I have the
sausage.
massive
Oh, is
headache.
it-
Yeah, it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
specific,
There's
it has to
pickles
work.
that are
Yeah, it's like-
sausage, this
Oh,
big.
I won't
Or you can
question
say you've had a bag
Mhm.
of dinner mints, 'cause I did that once.
But I'll be
I did not
suspicious.
buy them.
Yeah, I'll think.
I just found them.
Oh, okay.
We were just
that
in
makes
one of the
sense.
vending machines. It was
You
so
were-
weird.
You were talking about like the field day. Those were absolute insanity. I
Yeah.
remember that like entire week, everyone lost everything.
We
They just
had-
were like, yes.
We had water buckets.
Yes.
We pushed balls down a hill. We did some tire runs. We did a beach setup. And this is so interesting. So, the way they would do it is section us by class. And we had this little sand pit that obviously we never actually used for school because my school's
Yeah.
McConnell and it was super old.
Mm.
But our teacher, this is in 5th grade, our teacher goes, I always take the sand pit photo and use it as my next year's picture. So, like, everyone you're saying, we're here before you. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. So we got our picture taken during field day, and she kept it for the year. And I was like, that is insane.
Wow.
Just the thought of that's how they remember their kids. McConnell was still horrible. It was-
Yeah.
But I had that one cool thing,
Just a
though.
little thing.
There's a thing we do we did at East Hamilton for the theater company,
Mhm.
and there was like if you were in a certain amount of shows and did like certain like stuff like you did like volunteer or just worked at tech or stage or do anything like that, you would get a brick that you would paint in a hallway.
I painted a brick.
And we did that, and of course, I had to make mine funny a little bit. So I did a combination of our theater teacher, his name was Mr. Ford, and then I did a combination with Bob Ross. So
Oh
I gave him
my
a
God.
afro, and then I put a little like paint set next to him, and now his face is permanently in the hallway with an afro
I
on.
mean, you talking about the wall, the little brick wall.
Yeah, the brick wall, and that's in like the little
I
tunnel
don't
thing.
want a brick.
Y'all may have had a brick wall, but I had this horrible art teacher
Oh
in
boy.
Oh no.
middle school.
Art
'Cause
teachers
she was
are
like-
always.
So old and so crippled.
Sweens wasn't.
Like her brain was not there anymore. Like she mistaked us for the other class. She was rude.
Ooh, fun.
I almost learned cursive, but I wasn't able to
Interesting.
because I had to restart my original Okay.
Oh,
Y'all
here
know
we go.
that
Get ready.
Oh god.
was-
Let's start.
Let's get this therapy.
is I had walked into class one day and she goes, never mind. This is for after the podcast, but
Oh.
but I
All
walked,
right.
I walked
Crack
into
my
class one day and she goes, I found out that they skipped y'all's generation for learning cursive. And I was like, yeah, obviously. Everyone knows that. They wanted to see what happened to us and make it to where we can't read the Constitution or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
It's political BS.
she goes, I'm going to teach y'all cursive. And I was like, cool. Awesome. She goes, before that, though, I need to teach y'all how to write your letters correctly because y'all can't write for nothing. And if you don't agree with this, you can write me a paragraph why you disagree and don't want to do this. And she picks up I'm in 7th grade. She picks up 8th graders' papers and starts reading them going, I don't even know what that word is. I can't even read that. This is
Oh
chicken
my
scratch.
Oh yeah, that's
And I was like, okay. I was just gonna learn the cursive anyway, and so she gives us like elementary school sheets with like the 3 lines, and she's like, all right, you got to do big A, little a, big A, little a, big B, little b, all the way to Z, and then I'll give you your cursive sheet paper. And I was like, awesome, big A, little a, blah. I'm writing them, I'm enjoying my day, and I finish like on the 2nd day or whatever because I'm slow. And my friend, a lot of the people were already on cursive, and I'm like, done,
Easy.
awesome. I bring it up to her, I give it to her, she takes it, put on her reading glasses or whatever, and she's reading it, and she doesn't usually, no eye contact, goes, do it again. And I was like, why?
Ooh, imagine.
And she goes, you're not supposed to color in your eyes, you're supposed to dot them.
Okay.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
I not only are we writing on a whole inch, so if I dot my eyes with my mechanical pencil, you won't see it. But she does that to me. She goes, do it again. You're not supposed to color in your eyes, you're supposed to dot them. But she wanted me to do the whole thing again.
Oh, that's great.
So wait.
Like, redo it over.
So you're saying you can't just have like a circle colored in that's just a big dot.
Yeah, because I would just
That's the
swirl
whole-
mine.
It's what a dot is.
Anyway,
That's literally what
yeah.
a dot is. You
I sat down and sit back and just go, I'm just not going to do it. And I didn't. I just didn't do it.
That's fair.
But later on, she's like, I want to make a garden outside, and I'm going to use like a toilet and all this stuff, and I want y'all to paint some milk cartons. And you can paint the milk cartons however you want. We went days painting milk cartons, and I thought I was going to die. There's so many milk cartons. I've never
Milk cartons.
hated.
Milk cartons.
Oh god.
Has
But then-
PTSD of
Feel
milk
that.
cartons.
But then she goes, I want y'all to paint bricks. I want bricks to line out, and I want y'all to paint the bricks. And I was like, amazing.
Something
But
fun.
before you can paint your bricks, I want y'all to draw on some paper what ideas you'd have for painting your bricks. And I was like, because she wants to make sure we have like a good thing, we don't like change our mind. So I was really obsessed with Jacksepticeye. I'm
Yay.
still obsessed.
So
And
good.
I wanted the top, because it was like one of those bumpy ones, so I was going to have my initials in white, and then I was going to have the I, and then a couple other like favorite numbers or something as designs. And I'm sitting there, I'm drawing away. You're in 7th grade. You're not older. You're not even a teen yet in that age. Maybe. Marilyn, how
I'll
your
say
birthday
it.
falls.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm
Pre-teen.
sitting there, I'm drawing, she's leaning over, she's watching everybody. And this is the same woman that told me putting Sharpie on my arm will bleed in and kill me.
Okay.
Wow.
And she leans
Sure,
over
teachers,
and
teachers.
she's like looking at my design, and she criticized it in a way of saying, well, I don't remember her exact words, but she basically said, that's bad. That's horrible. That's not good. You need to do something else. And you were like, we could do whatever we wanted.
Not good
like,
enough.
Not
Whatever.
good enough.
It's whatever you want. Like what I had was like a horrible thing. I still painted it, and that brick sat right outside the school, and it's probably still there in its full white glory
Hell yeah.
because I painted
Yeah.
that whole thing white. So I made sure she
You
could
could see it.
every time she walked out of there because
It is
she
visible.
just always bothered me with stuff like that, and that's what she was. She was horrible, and she never like retired when she needed to. But that was one of my horror stories of my childhood. Was her and a library teacher.
Ooh, that reminded me. In pre-K, I had this cooking teacher, which I wish cooking class was still a thing.
Yeah,
It should be a
cooking
thing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I had,
Never had it.
I had to bake cookies
That
for
would
a
be cool.
school store in high school, and then we made a coffee
Okay.
shop my senior year,
Ooh.
That's
and I got to work at the coffee shop.
Now
So
that's
this is
dope.
fun.
Kinda had a
Yeah.
coffee shop.
Dude, I got half off
It's
my
all cookies.
coffees.
Ooh.
Only problem,
Used
the
to.
original coffees were like 300% priced, gouged,
Oh.
because my teacher was a bit of a money hog.
Oh.
gosh, what?
It wasn't going to any like charity or anything?
It was going to the school because that's how
Oh.
expensive it was to run that coffee shop.
Oh, I see.
Like we bought like a whole Keurig machine, and just that thing was like $900. So
Yeah,
we had to
really?
pay that off.
Whoa.
But I remember sitting there with her, and she made us help with the prices, and it was like my senior year, so it was really nice to be able to drink coffee in the morning the way I wanted to make it.
Mhm.
But we're sitting there, and she's wanting us to price everything, so we're pricing, and everything's coming out to like $1.50 per cup.
Okay.
And she goes, okay, so how much should we have them cost? And we're like, well, frappes are pretty expensive, and we don't want a lot of people to buy frappes because they're expensive, they take a while to make, and we only have 2 blenders, so it's not something you want people to buy. So $5 on the frappes, which seems a lot, but you got to understand the amount of money that goes into it, and that thing was a bit more than $1.50. But most normal coffees were like $1.50 to make, and we're like, oh, maybe we should make them like $2 or $2.50. And she goes, we're doing $3. And I was like, that's a lot. And it either cost $1.50 or less to make all those coffees. And I remember just sitting there being like, we are scamming children.
Literally.
The problem is that
Children.
we are students with the students.
So if
we
you
know
priced
these
out
people.
all
So
that-
they can look us
We-
like they've known me since. Most of them have seen my face for over a few years, and they're just staring at me as I go, $5. Jesus Christ.
for like this small cup of
That's
coffee,
Yeah,
like
the small.
not
Yeah.
even anything special.
Yeah,
about
there
it.
was no like different sizes. It was just like it's the size you could get. It was insane.
So did she agree, or he? I don't know which. Did they agree to the $5 frappe or bump it up?
She kept the frappes stayed $5, and then we had caramel macchiatos sell insanely. Like it was insane how many times we sold it. I've never gotten frustrated working with people until that moment because I obviously had never worked before, so this was the first time I had like been working with other people. And I had one dude that just wouldn't do his job, and he hated showing up, and he always complained about this other teacher that we also had, and I couldn't stand him because he would complain about anyone once they left the room. And then there were these girls and dudes I would watch make coffee, and I haven't dug in my brain how to make a caramel macchiato. But first you would put milk, and then the sauce, you'd mix that. You'd put the espresso in, you'd put whipped cream, and then caramel drizzle. And that's how you made a caramel macchiato. I was sitting there watching them make it, and the vanilla syrup, once you put it in, it starts to sit at the bottom, so that's why you mix it. But a caramel macchiato was just a vanilla latte with caramel and whipped cream on top of it, not mixed. Which is funny because it was cheaper. So if you just knew that, you could get a cheaper drink without all the fancy look on it. But I remember watching someone do that, and they didn't mix it, and we use spoons and forks to mix it, and it's got ice in it too, so it's not like you're mixing this nicely. And they were like, well, they can just mix it instead of just leaving it at the bottom. And I was like, I'm always going to mix the drinks how they're supposed to be made.
Yeah.
You can do that, but that's horrible. And then
You're
I'd
bad.
watch them make them for themselves, and they would just do this, and I was like, spinning ice in a liquid does not nix it. I've never watched stupidity unfold in front of me until I watched these people drinking coffees. And I was just like,
That doesn't work.
y'all are insane.
No, but again, when I was in preschool,
Oh yeah, back to the story.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
Took a rant.
Right here.
I had a teacher who I hated so much. She would do this thing where she would like spin her little napkin around and like be all sassy. And I remember there was one time where we were making like eggs, and eggs were my favorite as a kid. And we plated them, and my plate looked so good because I tried so hard, and that's something I don't do a lot in school is try. And there's just a little bit of like stuff on the side of it, so I swapped it up and I ate it because I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't want to wipe it on me. And she saw that and she was like, throw the plate away. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you ate before everyone else, throw it away. And I was like, I did not. Like, I had a little bit because I wanted the plate to look nice. And I had to sit in the corner and watch everyone eat. And then like another thing she would do is before we were allowed on the playground, we had to roll our R's, and we had to do it correctly.
I
Roll
can't
your
roll
R.
my.
I still can't roll my
like
R's.
that.
I can't roll my
No,
R's.
can't, yeah.
I learned to
Yeah.
whistle before I
That-
learned everywhere.
I haven't learned how to whistle either.
Don't know how to-
You don't know how to
Whistling's
whistle?
great.
Don't know how to whistle.
Dude,
Whistle
whistling's
in or
so
out?
nice.
I would
Yeah,
try
like just
so
walking
hard.
outside.
You need to try to learn. There might be a video on
So
YouTube. You know?
It's all about the tongue.
It
That's
is.
the thing.
It really is.
Do you whistle
Is
in
it?
or outward?
I've
Because
tried to
Depends on-
learn
depends on you.
inwards.
Yeah, it's in or
It's
out.
I can whistle inward.
I
better
used
than
to be
can
able to
out.
whistle inward, but I
Opposite
can't do
way
it
here.
anymore.
Just-
Did any of you guys ever get like those group punishments because like
Yes.
one or two
We
kids
had
did
this-
something?
We, in elementary school, had to all line up on the sidewalk and stand if another kid did something. All of us, while everyone played, until we had to go back inside. And that made me realize that group punishments are the dumbest thing in the world.
They are, yeah.
Yes. And they're
Obviously.
effectual.
I got
Even
in
worse.
trouble for telling on people as a kid.
What?
You
What?
They had an anti-tatty toe.
I-
What?
As a kid,
Stitches get stitches.
For real.
as
Literally.
a kid, I mentioned a dude that I hated a lot.
You did.
We're gonna call him Eli because his name's Eli, and I don't care.
Call
And
people out of this podcast, bro.
he would always do something wrong. I remember distinctively one time he got up on the table when he wasn't supposed to. He said or spelled a bad word, and I actually got brought to the principal office being like, this is what he did. And I'm like, that's what he did. You told me to tell. But my teachers would always be like, if somebody's doing something they're not supposed to, and if they could get hurt, you tell a teacher. And I was like, all right. So as a kid, I was grown up to listen to it, to tell when something's happening that you're not supposed to be doing. Obviously, that's how you
Good
grew up as a
students.
kid. You know, a good
Proper.
kid.
Good kid.
And I guess, I don't know if they got tired of me or what, but one time, this dude, we had two towers. A red tower and the blue tower. And the blue tower was slightly bigger than the red tower. This is not important, but it's important if you were there. And they had beams that staggered off and down for the swings. And this kid, there was no safety procedures on these things. It was like just built with wood and metal. There was no safety procedures on these towers. And it was torn down and given the more now look of playgrounds. But he had climbed to the top, gotten on top of it, and he was going to jump off this almost 2-story tower. It was like 1.5 stories, but still tall. And he was going to jump off of it. Or at least that's what he proclaimed. And since this is the same dude who jumped off of a swing about this tall, you believed him.
He's gonna
Alright?
do it.
He's gonna do
He's
it.
about to do it.
So I walk up to my teacher, and her name was Miss Thurman. And I go, Miss Thurman, I need to tell you something, so-and-so. And she turns to me, she's looking down at, like, this was, like, in 4th grade, so she's looking down at, like, a 7-8-year-old, and goes, stop being such a tattletale.
What?
Oh my god.
And
How would teacher be doing that?
I remember she said that.
You're
And
telling me
I
this
will-
this kid is about to jump off of a 2-story basically building, probably break multiple bones in their body, and this teacher is telling you to stop being a good child.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
That's
because she was turned away, I am looking at him while looking at her, and looking at him on like he could fall, and
He
could
is
die.
going to fall.
and I remember she said that to me, and like it's like a switch or something hit the back of my brain, And I remember turning and walking away and going, dude can die for all I care. I am never telling her. I'm never telling a teacher anything. If I see it, I didn't see it.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Like, they always warned us about peer pressure and like kids are gonna try to pressure you. A teacher pressured me into never telling about nothing. Be like, I didn't see nothing. I just became a person. I could not believe being told that by an adult, and I lost all respect. I was like, that's it. If something happens,
That's it.
I wasn't
Not my
there.
bubble.
You can interrogate me all you want, and I would never say nothing. That's how it went for like years, and I'm still like that. I'd be like, I didn't see nothing.
Miss Thurman, you're
Like,
dead to me.
I'll sit there. I'll talk to friends.
Didn't happen.
I'll talk to friends about watching dudes go in and out of this bathroom, being like, they probably got drugs on them. Are we gonna tell somebody?
Nope.
No.
One
He
question.
agrees with you.
What happened to the kid? Did he jump?
Did he jump?
Nah, he didn't jump.
Ah.
Or maybe he did. It's been so many
Maybe.
years.
I feel like you would have known though.
He
I would say, I feel
He
like if
didn't
you're talking
jump.
about two-story thing, he most likely had to have broken
He would've
something.
just made
'Cause
a
there's
sound.
no way
That's what
he.
I'm talking about.
No.
He was that kid. You know that kid with the big ear, like the popular that
Oh.
kid?
Yeah, dude.
He was that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminded me. I had a kid in pre-K again, or kindergarten, whichever one.
Something like that.
His name was CJ, and I remember my two distinctive memories of him was one time it was freezing cold outside, and for some reason he took off his shirt and ran up to me, screamed, and then walked away. And I was like, okay.
Sounds like kindergarten behavior.
Yeah, I'll say
Yeah.
this is possible.
And then the other time, I remember I was sitting reading a book, or trying to, and I look up and I hear screaming, and my teacher comes around the corner, and like, she has to go through the room I'm in to get to the hallway, and she has him on her shoulder, and he's just like screaming, hitting, and I'm like, what the hell? It was so shocking because he was the only one that did that, and everyone else was like well behaved of some sort, except for like one other kid. But it was insane.
You remember being in pre-K?
I'll say I don't
Yeah.
remember
I
anything
don't-
about pre-K.
I
No,
remember the
I
traumatizing parts.
I remember.
My
They're
pro-
seared into your
It's like
brain.
right-
I've lost actually a lot of memory because I think it was when I was like 12
You were
or
traumatized?
13. No, possibly. Technically, I don't know. I forgot. I was riding in a golf cart with my friend. We were going to he was in like a gated community. He had a pool, and there's like a hill that you have to go down to get to the pool because it's like in a little divot.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. I've only been told the stories, but somehow I fall off the golf cart while we're going max speed down the hill, and I actually cracked my skull from here to here.
Oh,
And I
no.
lost a majority of my childhood memories. I'm like, well, dang.
Dude.
And
I,
blood.
I've never
Tell
met
me
another
that.
person with a head injury. I have a scar right here because I ran full speed trying to find the bathroom at like a J.C. Penney's, right into a pole, and I just
Ooh.
smashed it, and you could see my skull. But I took
I-
everything normally. I was like, okay.
I
Yeah.
cracked.
Y'all toys for real.
I literally got up after it and I was like, what happened? And then I was like, for a good hour I was fine. I was normal. And then all of a sudden everything just started hitting me and my face went white. And like I don't remember fully what happened. I just remember like in and out memories of me like the car ride to the hospital was the worst thing. I was like throwing up everywhere and they hated me for that.
I wasn't old enough to remember, but I apparently cracked my head open on a coffee table.
Oh
Like we are talking, it is open and it is bleeding, but I had so much hair, it was just soaking it. But I remember my dad and mom telling me, or my dad telling me, being like, yeah, you fell, you cracked your head open on the coffee table, and this was the conversation. My mom going, oh my gosh, we need to take her to a hospital, because mom, she has incredible mom instincts. Like,
Something's up.
you would think someone died. I one time fell with my little brother, my hands on the concrete, busted my knees, not open, but they are now permanently bruised. And it was in pitch black, so she was like ready for Kingston to be dead when she turned on that light.
Oh,
Like she
man.
heard that hit and she was ready for me to be like clutching him in my arms. But I lifted him up and placed him down safely. I just killed my knees, and now my knees are messed up.
Worth it.
But I
With the
remember
sacrifice.
my dad being like, your mom was freaking out. She was like, we have to go to the hospital. But a lot of my family is medical, so he was like, no, she's fine. She'll be fine. She doesn't need to.
It'll
Like,
buff.
no, we need to call Grandpa, which is my mom's dad, and was like, we need to tell him about, like, Serena cracked open her head, and she's like, he'll be fine. She'll be fine. She's like, we're taking her to a doctor. Like, my mom was like, we are taking her to a doctor. It must have been bad if I had my head cracked open, because I know my dad had a traumatic childhood, so if he's like, your mom was freaking out, I can't trust him to be like, it was a cut. My head was probably really cracked open. They went to a doctor, and the doctor goes, she's gonna be fine.
Yeah, like, the whole thing with mine was I did it, and there was no blood.
Really?
That's more
so
scary.
I cracked my
That
skull, and I
terrifying.
had no blood, and I got to the hospital, and they're like, yeah, you cracked it for, like, I think they did, like, this is about the size of crack you did, and it was actually such a problem because blood wasn't leaking out of my head, but it was leaking into my skull.
That's
And
why I was like,
I almost had to get surgery
better out than
to
in,
get it
kind of.
opened up to get
I
the
don't know
blood out.
about that.
But apparently, I had like a 1 in a million kind of case. They're like, there's not many people that probably would have done the same crack and done this. But apparently, it cracked so perfectly that it cracked into my right eardrum, and the blood started draining off my brain out of my ear.
That's really
And they were like,
That is
it
horrifying.
cracked so perfectly that it didn't like fully damage my eardrum, but just enough that the blood would leak out
And not
and not
into your
get my
head.
brain.
Insane.
That isn't.
And,
Yeah.
they were literally like bringing in a bunch of medical students, being like, "You will never see this again, probably."
Dude,
I'm
medical-
like, "Oh."
I've heard-
Imagine being studied because
Literally,
of
I
what
would-
happened.
I literally woke up so many times, there's people surrounding me. I'm like, "What is happening?"
Dude,
Oh my
that's
God.
what's so weird about the hospital, because I rarely ever, I've been to the hospital, I only have a memory of going once when I was sick, and that's because I was that sick, and this was only like a few years ago when I was in high school. I've been sick before, but I've always just stayed home because I have a big medical family, so like, you get hurt, meh.
Yeah.
But I'd always hear about that, being like, if you go there and you got a weird case, just expect medical students.
You will. Yep.
Expect it. Just expect 100 medical students being like, we heard you were a burn victim.
Yeah. There was so many times where they're like, "All right," I would literally just lay over my side, and they'll just look into my ear all the time. They'll be like, "Wow,
Whoa.
it just did it."
Yeah, I'm sure there's so many videos of you out there on like some sort of hospital
Oh, probably.
record.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
Do
surprised.
you think medical people have like a medical website where it's
Yes.
like
You
coolest things I saw? It'd be like
The
Facebook,
medical
but
Reddit.
for
Facebook
doctors.
for doctors, yeah.
You mean
Like, everyone look.
Right?
Check this out. This child is like his arm got torn off, but we managed to sew it back on.
Be like,
It's
look how perfect
insane.
his bone got cut. And you're
Yeah.
just sitting there like, oh my gosh.
Wow, I can't believe
Like
it
no
happened.
one else would find this cool.
I remember.
But medical students.
Exactly.
I have, like, you know, everyone's got random scars in their arm, and I have a permanent scar that got glued together on my arm. And I asked my mom, I was like, well, when I was younger, you know, you tell lies as a kid that you didn't know were lies. I told everyone it was a paper cut. I don't know how I got the thought of a paper cut, but no one cuts their arm open that big and it be a paper cut. So I asked my mom, I was like, how did I get this? Because when I was a child, I told people it was a paper cut. I don't think it was. I may have just been insane. And she goes, yeah, you went to the bathroom to go bath or something. You were really young. You went to the bathroom, and you came back, and your arm was cut open. And I was like, what?
So no one
Oh,
knows.
okay.
No one knows, and I don't know either because I've lived in that bathroom for years, and I'm like, what? Did a child? What did I?
Did I
there's
get
nothing
shaped in
I
the bathroom and
could've
then they just
thought
left?
of. Like, the thing is that it's right here. Like you know, you fall like this, you fall like this, you fall. I had to have had the craziest either. The thing is, my mom never heard anything. I just walked out. There wasn't a fall. There wasn't a bang. There was nothing. I walked in. For all I know, I grabbed a scalpel and cut my arm open. Like, I don't know.
God.
Because there was no sound. My mom's like, you just came back with your arm cut open. And I'm like,
Imagine how terrifying that would be for your mother.
exactly. I'm like, Mom,
Did you not sick?
she's blocked out like a lot of memories from my childhood because she's so old and we didn't have like actual cameras back then. So if I ever ask her, she usually says, I don't know. But her saying, I still have no idea how you did that. And I'm like, I'm concerned how I did that.
I have
You
two
said Bloody
things.
Mary too many times.
Probably.
I remember there was one time where I was like, holy shit, excuse me, I can like shave my beard. So I took my dad's razor and I shaved nothing and I just cut a mustache and I remember it bleeding and I was like, yeah, this is fine. And I would show my parents and be like, look at what I did. And they were like, why did you do that? I literally took the skin
I'm
and-
bleeding.
Yeah, look at my mustache. But when I got my head injury, I remember my dad told me apparently I fell down. My dad picked me up, and I was like, "Hi, Dad," and there was just blood gushing and like down my face. I didn't notice it, and my dad was like, "Okay, let's go over to the clerk and like ask him to get like help or something." And the guy was on the phone and apparently like turned white when he saw me and picked up the phone and was like, "Hey, I need to call you back." And like I don't remember any of that, but the only part I remember was I was in my parents' car and we were right next to my sibling's friend's house because she was like gonna spend the night. And I remember her getting in the car and her face goes white and she's like, "What the frick happened?" And I was like, "Hi, I don't know, I don't remember." And then like everything after that, like a year after that, I don't remember anything.
Oh my
It all
God.
was just like gone.
It's like the idea that if you don't react to a child getting hurt, it doesn't.
They don't get hurt. They don't get hurt.
They don't know what happened.
I always have crazy childhood memories because half of it was either sitting in front of a TV when I was younger because of my mom's side, or being with my dad up in Kentucky with my cousins who were all near my age, and we had so much. We didn't have so much land. We knew people. First off, it's middle of nowhere, Paducah, Kentucky, so there's like nothing around. But this dude owned a bunch of cornfields, so no one lived near us, and we're down a long gravel road, so we were able to just go for hours and hopefully come back alive.
Hopefully.
And when my favorite story out of all the tearing off Barbie heads, almost getting hit by a train, falling through out of all these stories, the best one I have is one of me and my cousin Mallory, who was a year older than me. We were pretty young to the point where like it's not very vivid, but it's like there. My dad was working on his Impala, and we had one of those power wheels, like it was one of those monster truck power wheels. We had Gravedigger, and we were going around because we had a little roundabout around this tree for extra parking and whatnot, and we're going around it. My dad goes, "One rule. Don't go down the driveway. We are children, and we have broken many, many rules existing." My dad's working on the Impala. He doesn't remember who comes out, but some family member comes out and goes, "Where's the kids?" My dad's like, "They're playing on the power wheel." I don't see him. He lifts up, looks around. We are gone. He freaks out. He jumps on the four-wheeler, and he's driving down this. And most of it is just grassland, but there is like this one section of drainage where it's like, it's a fall. And you could get hurt if you took a power wheel off of that. Also, we got mean neighbors down the road. So my dad's driving down this, looking left, right. Did they crash? What happened? I'm freaking out. He gets all the way to the end. He freaks out. He gets off. He's looking. He gets on the front of the road. He looks down. We have like this full straight road, and he looks, and he sees a bunch of cars parked off the sides of the road and a speck going further away. He runs. This is his version. He runs down this. I was driving.
Of course.
Of course.
It was not my fault, though. I was
Sure.
fine. He runs down. He gets in front of us. I have such a memory of him yelling down at us, and I'm trying to explain to him, I was driving, but Mallory's a year old, and I had my foot on the pedal, and that thing doesn't turn well. And she put her foot on the pedal right before I could turn, and we couldn't turn fast enough, so I kept going down. And then it blinks out, and now I'm there being yelled at. So I don't remember the rest of the conversation.
Fun.
And my dad's screaming at us. He's got a bit of a temper. He's yelling at us. He picks up the thing. He spins it around. He didn't like pull it, push it, nothing. We are just as slow as possible with this power wheel going back.
You
And this-
drove here, you're driving back.
This old lady
The drive of shame.
yelled at my dad and goes, "You need to know how to take care of your kids better." And he screams at her like, "I'm gonna effing kill you! Don't you ever tell me how to play my kids."
Oh.
She's obviously terrified. My dad always says that he feels bad, but I'm like, she's a bit mean and kind of deserved it.
She deserved it.
There's a
Like,
little
out
bit.
of every one of those cars pulled over, only the one woman came and yelled at you. She was the main one.
She
bad
was
one.
the Karen. She was the Karen of the group.
Obviously, I don't even know how we process how many cars just pulled over, stopped, and waited for us
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
get
say,
out
that's
of
just
the
like
road.
show people just to be like, oh, there's power wheel, let's get over here.
Yeah. Hey, no, they're
Their
enjoying the
vision.
view.
Yeah, there's nothing to watch
Years-
the fireworks. Sorry.
Years later, I've always talked to my dad about this story, and he's always given me the extra bits of it. And I was like, well, Mallory was there. And we ended up telling Mallory's mom and them. And they were like, I never knew this happened. I was like, it's been enough years. You can't do anything. Now she's adult. And I will never forget, we were in the car. We were here because we were taking them to, like, a hike or whatever. Or, like, something cool. And we called up Mallory. And I go, Mallory, do you remember the reason we were driving down that road? And she goes, you know what? I do. Because she's a year older and had better memory. And she goes, I think we were driving down that road to go to the gas station. Because at the end of that road, it splits off. And in the middle of that split is a gas station.
You needed a refill.
What doesn't make sense is that we had no money. We were maybe 4 and 5, probably younger, and decided we're going to go down a busy road and go to the gas station.
On a Power Wheel, which uses a battery.
And we would have made it if no one came out of the house.
True. This is true statements.
Yeah, you would have been at the gas station, at the pump, like, all right, how do we work this
Imagine
thing
you
again?
got that far, and they just like, where'd they
Imagine-
go? And then
imagine
they
my dad,
just
he
pull up
looks
to the
like-
gas station, like, what are you doing here?
The thing is that you'd have to drive a bit to even find the gas station.
Yeah.
So imagine imagine a man, like my dad was in the military. He was buff. He's still pretty. He's not as buff as he could have been because he's now in his 40s, but he was big. Can you imagine watching a dude be that scared after being in the Air Force, after almost being blown up, looking left, looking right, and going, I have lost both my kid and my sister's kid. Oh my God. Like, could you imagine the paleness that would drain from his face as he realized they're either dead, kidnapped, or I need to find, like, I always think about it, and I always love the story because everyone's reactions to the splitting of the roads, but I always love the thought of what would have happened if we made it to that gas station.
That would have been...
Your dad would have been terrified.
Yeah.
Obviously. He's already lost children. He's lost children after this too. Like he's had his big scare of losing kids.
Why do they allow him to keep watching the kids then?
Yeah, because it was different family members. That one, it was my dad's side of the family, and then when I have cousins on my mom's side, but they're way older than me, and one of them's name is Mackenzie, and they took my dad down to Florida with them, and this was before I was born, and he was playing with my mom's aunt. Yeah, because she's like my great aunt. It's kids named Hunter, Tucker, and Mackenzie. I think Hunter's the oldest, and then it goes Tucker, and then it goes Mackenzie's a bit younger than both of them. And they're all playing, and Hunter and Tucker are throwing sand in my dad's face.
Oh.
Okay.
And he's getting mad. He's like, y'all need to stop, because he gets really upset, and Mackenzie goes missing on the beach.
Oh no.
So they are scurrying. They don't see the kid anywhere. They come up. My dad had to look his in-laws in the face and go, I can't find your child.
Oh.
They are looking everywhere. They can't find her. They're freaking out. Here comes Mackenzie.
She went on a stall.
And
Just a stall.
And they look at her and they go, Mackenzie, where were you? Where did you go? You can't just go off like that. And she's like, where did you go? I had to go to the bathroom.
Dang. Personally.
She was in the bathroom the entire time. And I'm like, man, that's
That's
not
just
fun.
impressive.
Yeah.
If anything else.
That reminds me of a story. I was at my grandparents' house, and it was 4th of July, so we were lighting fireworks, and we had a bunch of different cousins coming in for town, and we were like in the middle of nowhere, so we could fire off fireworks without like caring about other people. And we had 2 park benches set up, one that we were launching fireworks off of, and then one we were just sitting on to watch.
Yeah.
And our father left us alone, and there was like one of the older cousins was doing the fireworks for us. So he lights one of the fireworks, and I don't know how, I don't know what happened, but the firework fell over right to where we were all sitting. And from my dad's point of view, all he saw was a a gaggle of kids just jump off the thing and start sprinting it into the forest behind, because we were like, there was like a forest behind us, and we started sprinting into the forest trying to dodge the fireworks and like get behind trees. And I vividly remember literally just seeing fireworks zip past me, hitting trees next to me. And then one kid, there was a fence at the and there was a bunch of trees, and then there was a fence. One kid ran so fast they forgot about the fence and just barreled into the fence, tripping over it after getting fireworks launched at us.
It's like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. It was a whole mission. I was like, what just happened?
You guys keep freaking reminding me of these like weird interactions I've had. First and foremost, I had one interaction with a girl who had a bee as a pet, and she had dog crap all over her house. That was just random. But the like you were talking about a driveway. I used to ride this like little Hot Wheels car. It was like a weird bike thing.
Yeah, Hot Wheels.
It was like a pedal bike. With
I had
a wheel in the
I
front,
had a-
small wheels in the back.
Yeah, I had a
A green
3-wheel pedal
machine.
bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that what
Did
you
y'all
called?
ever?
I think so. That's what I had.
Did y'all ever
the
have a
massive,
twister?
like a tricycle.
The
Big
big
one.
wheel in the
Did
front.
you ever have a
Yeah.
twister
Yeah.
though? I had a twister. It was a big
Maybe.
wheel, and then it had like
Might have been the
offset
same
back wheels, so you
kind.
could
I think
spin
that-
yourself.
I think
I
that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
called
that.
big wheels.
Either that one or
Big
Griffin.
wheel.
I think
Yeah.
that's totally what they're called, was just big wheels. Because
We
they had one
have-
giant big wheel and then the two small ones in
Well,
the background.
Well, there's
Yeah,
like
but the-
two wide, thick ones.
The
but really
name of
short.
mine was called a twister because
Oh, okay.
it's
It was made
Different
for spinning.
brand.
But
Yeah.
like a different
Or like
brand.
you're driving, you twist, and you just start spinning, right?
Yeah, you spun, and there's no
Mhm.
seatbelts or anything, so
No,
you fly
no.
off.
You launch it.
So like if you go over slight curve, the whole thing's
You're
tipping
gone.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're out.
Mhm.
But what happened was, my neighbor has this massive hill that is very unsafe.
We got big hills.
And my sister and I were like, screw it, we're gonna go down that hill on our like bikes of
Oh
choice.
God.
And so we go down it a couple times. My dad is recording, and he records me, and I go like halfway up the hill,
Yeah.
and I start going down. I'm flying, I'm having fun, and then here comes my dog Beetle, and he's right in front of me, and I ram into him, and I spin off, and I felt so bad for him more than myself. I was crying for him, and my
Oh
dad
my
caught it
God.
all on video, and we tried to turn it into
Yes,
AMV.
on video.
Impressive.
We don't know where it is now, but
Oh,
we
you have to find
have
it.
it somewhere.
Oh,
So good.
Yeah, that reminds me. I kind of had the same deal. Me and my brother, when we used to live in an older house, we lived in this tiny neighborhood that was
would be-
just like a
him
dead
yelling at
end.
you would be like
So we had
so
our
terrifying
house,
thought.
and then maybe 2 houses over,
I would be
another
terrified.
house with a massive hill.
There's
So
always
we
that
would-
one house.
The one house at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the video
So we would
that
take our
always got
wagon.
me as a kid.
We would go to the
Wow.
top of the hill, both of us get in there, ride down the entire hill, and then like go into the next neighbor's yard and just ride through the grass, and somehow, thank God, never crashed.
Really?
Yeah, like you could even control the wagon, so we would go down Tokyo Drift to the right and go down the street back to our house.
That's like the moment where I'm like, if I'm an adult and I see that today, it's like I knew that happened when I was a kid, but now that I'm older, I'm like, how do these kids have these skills? If I
Imagine.
start doing that now with like, you know,
You would
the right
die.
equipment,
You
yeah,
would die.
I'd fucking just gone.
Just dead.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of my dad if y'all wanted to see what I got yelled at by.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I
would
Like
be
this is what
terrified.
I got
Yeah.
yelled at by. This
Wow.
that's what I had to deal with when I was a child.
How are you driving through the tears that must have been going down your face?
I'll
We
say,
did.
if-
We stopped. The second he got in front of me, I was pouring tears. Like,
Mhm.
dude, my dad always said he would never hit me. He hit me one time, and it's because I hit him. So it's completely agreeable. And
Yeah, sure.
I always
sure.
remember.
Military guy.
Child.
Small child.
Oh, dude, if you want some good stories, the stories of my dad in the military, those are good stories. But my dad always would say he'd never hit me. And I think that's really funny because since I was never hit as a child, the second anyone gets a tone with me, like you're in trouble, I will start pouring tears
Oh.
because of my dad.
Huh. Okay.
Okay.
Like I can't have arguments anymore.
Because you just
I've
start
gotten
crying?
my eyes have gotten that sensitive. I was having a conversation with my dad about Columbus.
Columbus?
What?
Because I was in a history class and we were talking about how Columbus was a bad person and how Columbus
Yeah.
Day shouldn't be a day, it should be
Not
Indigenous
wrong.
Peoples
Horrible
Day.
man.
Not the greatest
And
man.
I was talking to my dad and he was like, you just don't know what kind of person he was, what kind of life he had to live in. He
Like,
only,
do you?
like if you had a pound of salt, you'd be killed for it.
He pretended to be God to the natives.
And my dad was talking to me about that. and he goes, well, of course they did that and yada yada. When do you know what the Romans did for fun? They watched people kill each other. I would have liked watching that. And I'm like,
It is kind of fun.
happening? And he keeps going in on that. He's like, I like hurting people. That's why I played football. When I broke that dude's shin, it felt good. And I am sitting there. I am crouched down. We were in the middle of the woods because we were on a hike, and I am sitting there looking at my dog Charlotte like, my dad's insane. He is insane. He is traumatized. He needs therapy.
Slightly
He doesn't remember his trauma. That's the man who yelled at me. That type of dude, and that's what I was yelled at for 18 years. And I'll be like, I either need to be neutral or happy or I will cry. And I realized that when I couldn't hold conversations with people anymore if it was an argument. I couldn't with adults. I remember I was sitting there holding back tears as my dad talked about Columbus, and I'm like, I shouldn't be crying.
This is
a
old history guy.
He's not even alive anymore.
And I was like, this is just a conversation. And my dad has told me all the time about how he has a beast within him, and I'm like, Dad, dudes aren't like that.
Contained.
It's like, I can understand you because you were in the military.
Yeah, military is a
and you had
different
to
thing.
do that.
Yeah.
But my dad would always say, like, dudes have beasts inside. You won't want a dude that's nice and chill and whatnot. And I'm like,
Okay.
I can understand a person
Sure.
to protect me, but at the same time,
Not
like,
someone who, I'm
I
gonna
don't
kill
want
you.
someone who has the capability to kill another person because that was my father figure for years.
That
It's
was
I
my
don't
father.
want that.
Yay,
You would have murdered
trauma.
people on the
And I
top
was
of
like,
the
that
head.
gave me a really unhealthy liking to people like that. And I was like, I don't want to be murdered as a wife.
Wait.
And have it go as an unsolved murder later be turned into a podcast. And I'm
Weird.
still working on completely changing my mental thought. And I was like, for years, and I realized it after I remember all my TV shows and everyone I liked on the TV shows, and I was like, that's not okay.
They are people that could kill
You
me.
fall not really in love, but you like the villains
I always
way more.
it was always the psychopaths, the
Oh.
murderers, the
Oh,
crazy eyes,
yeah.
and I would always sit there I can't help but like characters
Smash?
like that. I can't help.
Wait, so what about like Jeffrey Dahmer?
Whoa,
I mean, hey,
No,
have you
we're
seen those
talking-
glasses?
We're talking
Oh,
cartoons.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Talking
Like
cartoons.
Scream.
Ted Bundy, here we go.
Ted Bundy.
Smash.
like, yeah, that hard.
But I never forget. I had to sit there and rewire myself to like the good guys and the nice guys and being like, it's not. You don't want somebody
You're
that
Psychos.
speeds when they drive. You
Dude.
don't want somebody that listens to that type of music all the time. It's like I had to just sit there and constantly remind myself, being like,
No.
no.
No, stop
No.
it.
That could be a funny situation though. Like someone's gonna be like, "I'm gonna murder your face." Like,
Oh,
right.
Oh.
Jesus.
tell me
Is
more
that
about
a threat or a
that.
promise?
Ooh.
You really like my face?
Oh, yeah,
that
murder my
much?
face?
I do want to say,
Calm down.
when I used to play Overwatch like crazy, and I fell in love with some of the voice lines, and just recently I got into Overwatch 2, and I was playing Roadhog, and he said a very specific voice line that was like, "What, are you scared of me?" or something. And I was like, that was the most terrifying but awesome voice line I've ever
Okay.
heard. It was the best thing ever.
Thought that was going to go down a different
I was
route.
gonna say, I was
It could've.
scared. I was
It's
like, what did
there.
Overwatch do again?
Overwatch
Too
is-
many things.
Too many.
Did you say?
I
Like,
remember,
that's a voice line?
Hey, I'm not denying it.
There's a lot of
No, but
questionable
I
Overwatch
mean-
voice
I
lines.
mean
Sigma
very
feet is
mild.
not a voice line, but questionable.
I'm talking more mild, like Karma from Assassination Class.
I was-
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Is that really
To be honest,
mild?
I was like, I don't know. I'm not
Teen or
gonna lie.
Robin from Teen Titans.
Ooh.
Like,
Oh, 10 times.
Okay, okay.
like I'm not talking like murderous rage. I'm talking like the sophisticated mind.
Smart psycho.
Like not like the
Worse.
I hate to say the brain of Joker, but the brain of
Like a very
smartly
well put together-
doing something chaotically.
You could do like
Some
the Dark
mental-
Knight
And I-
Joker. Like not a cartoon, but he's
I loved
smart
it.
about
I
being
loved his
crazy.
personality. Like he
Yeah.
was the personality. I was like, that is amazing. I love that type of things in media. Not him. He was horrifying. But I was like, that was a really good version of the Joker.
Mhm.
But anytime I watched a show or anything like that, it was always the darker. Anytime you looked them up, they were labeled psychopath. But they were
Yeah.
never murderous or anything. That they were just absolutely terrifying people that within a glance could do anything. And I can't tell if it was because of my dad, because I wanted to be intimidating, because my dad drilled it in my brain that you're not intimidating, or anything like that. But I remember it was always that type, and I was like, eh.
Well, you know, like, don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain that there might have been studies on this. People are more inclined to fall in love with people who remind them of their parents.
Oh my gosh, I kept
No,
seeing.
because it's just a fact.
It's
Yeah, it's
just
a thing.
personality based. What's funny about that is, first of all, yeah, obviously, but have you ever seen the ones? It's mainly they do it with females mainly. They're like, if you can't like the male version of you, then you need to up your standards or lower your standards. And I always thought that was stupid because there's only one problem with that. And I actually know a face swap to prove this, but I have the female version of my dad's face.
Okay.
4 for 4.
Yeah.
And anytime I'd pick up that filter and it would give me a beard, I would look exactly like my dad. And I was like, that is disgusting. Y'all are horrifying. Because everyone would be like, I look like my brother. I'm not lowering my standards. And I was like, yeah, no one do that.
Exactly.
Don't do
No.
that. You should not be attracted to the male version of you because
Yeah.
you look like your father or brother. And I remember watching all of those things, being like, look how hot I look. And I was like, you probably look right like your dad.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
'cause
either
if you
like
have a
your
more
dad or like your
masculine
mom.
face, you look a lot like... It's good if the women, have more of their mom's face, because then it goes off without a hitch. But no, every time I see that, I'm just reminded, I'm like, no.
That's
It's
just
it
your
doesn't work for
father.
everybody.
Yeah.
I did that trend with putting on the beard, and because I have long hair, I look more like my mom.
You
But-
look like Jesus.
Yeah, I look like Jesus, and I was like, I can't, because I also put on the face makeup as well. I did
Yeah.
the filter and the makeup, and I was like,
Oh.
ooh, I look like Jesus, and I just did not
Dude,
like
Get the
God,
that.
I
white
would make
robe.
Yeah, I was like, Moan.
Halloween
I got
costume.
I was thinking about
We
it.
had a guy
very
named
closely.
Jesus in my school because he had the super
Really?
long hair and the beard. But literally, have long hair. Just long it, most likely silky. But just have long hair and then have a slight stubble beard. Anyone who's anyone will call you Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Because-
how it goes.
That's how
Because
he's depicted all the
It's
time.
nothing to do with your face shape or anything. It is just the hair. Because
Mhm.
everyone's always like, God was supposed to have some different skin color. And I was like, you know how I know that's true? Because anytime I see any man with long hair and a beard, I go, Jesus.
Jesus.
Jesus. Because that's what was drawn.
There's
I was
just
like,
something.
Jesus.
Maybe it's not even the person anymore who's Jesus. It's the hair.
It's
that
the
was
hair.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
haircut.
The
It's like, oh, yeah.
personification.
It's like,
It's
it's
just a
like you can
haircut.
make God or Jesus look however you want, but you
You
will
gotta
not
need the
cut his
beard.
Long
hair,
hair,
Long hair.
beard.
and he has to have
Boom.
a short beard. You can't not have it.
That is Jesus. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Can you believe this conversation started with 2000s commercials and toys?
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Talk about looking
I'm-
like Jesus.
I'm noticing all the lights going off, and I
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
want to
you
go
make a fair
home.
point.
I think it's about time we ended
So-
this.
Probably
Well,
a good idea.
That is it for the episode of Broadcast Podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Yay!
Yay! Good job.
Woo!